Good morning, everyone. I will call this meeting to order of the DeKalb County Commissioners. Today's date is July 15th, 2024. Good morning, Dottie. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, it is the Larry and Dottie show, but we're again. But this time I'm going to kind of take the lead on the first thing so that others can leave and be productive. And then, Larry has his thing that he needs to talk about. I would like to bring to the attention of the commissioners a situation that we had at the annex a couple weeks ago, but it was brought to light last week. Has to do with a non-employee in the building after the doors have been locked. Now, here's the situation. Sometimes the back door remains unlocked because of a meeting with maybe the extension office has a meeting down in the basement. But we had a person who contacted a department to say, hey, your office door's closed. What am I going to do? And it was a voicemail message, and that they called at 4:35. So of course the doors are automatically locked at 4:30. Then called back again. Hey, I didn't hear from you. That would have been at 4:40. What am I supposed to do? Now, part of our situation is that we appreciate that we have the new high-tech locking and unlocking system, and I think that's going to work really well. We've got things coordinated between the extension office, who handles the scheduling of the red room and the white room, the departments who are located there who need the use of that room, the IS department who unlocks and locks the doors, or takes care of the situation with the actual mechanism there. But our concern is that we have individuals who are employees who are in that building after the doors are locked, who should have access, and say our coroner, HR, public defender, our cleaning crew. Usually we are individuals who are there working, and it would be really nice, and I have a deceptively, simply stupid solution to this. I know that for the last 5 years, the probation department has asked for cameras, in the front lobby, in the back entrance. The only cameras that are there right now are the ones that are left over from community corrections down in the basement right there. There are an awful lot of places, bathrooms, hallways that are dark and out of the way. We are reaching out to the sheriff and to our security staff if perhaps we could have an officer come in at 4:30. Check the bathrooms, check the hallways, make sure, do a sweep of the building to make sure that we don't have any extra individuals in that building after hours. As I said, we've reached out. We haven't heard. The sheriff was on vacation last week, so we are hoping that he will join us in this. Now, initially, we were told by security that that would entail overtime. Yes, it might entail overtime, but I'm talking 15 minutes maybe to prevent, and as the chair of the safety committee and the director of HR, if we had an incident, 15 minutes of overtime would be a very small price for us to pay for the security of our employees. So what I think I'm asking for is your support with that. Like I said, it's deceptively, stupidly simple to just have an officer come through, sweep the building, check the bathrooms. We have the basement if you're ever down there, we have that hallway and then that little stairwell that goes up, to nowhere, but it really goes someplace. The doors are locked. However, somebody could hide there. A couple of years ago, the reason that we have locked that back door was because of the the homeless individuals that we had who were utilizing our bathrooms and perhaps even overnight to sleep there. I know it's a public building, but that's not what it's for. Sorry. So anyway, I think that's what I'm asking for, your support. Let's see, we have the coroner is here, Larry is here. We are affected departments. Morgan is also here as part of HR. I don't know if those guys have anything else to say about the situation, but wanted to bring it to your attention. Yes, sir.
How long is security at our front doors of the courthouse here? Are they here till 5 or
4:30.
4:30. Just 4:30?
Yeah.
Or could they, on their way out, could one of them leave 10 minutes early and just leave one here and they sweep and then they walk back, or?
I think the way they got it set up is there's one person here at 4:30,
Only one?
and when it comes 4:30,
They're out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the person that was in the building was a sex offender. Just so,
Oh, really?
yeah, so that's
What?
known.
A probation, yes.
Sex offender.
Yes. So
So,
it wouldn't matter, really, what the offense would be.
Right.
But it just so happens that is, and that did put a bit of concern to our maintenance department, since they are, they have the contract to clean our building, and they have, one person who is there. Michael has just come in. I don't know if he has anything else to add to the conversation. I've pretty much described what it was, and that you, for the last 5 years, have asked for cameras in the building. We still haven't gotten them, but the deceptively simple solution would be to ask for an officer to sweep our building. Don't forget, push your button. Yeah.
It became immediately clear. I've had the request for security in total as a part of our capital asset request or plan or whatever it is for the council since I've been here, just because we haven't been consistently provided security by the sheriff's office. Okay, there have been times previously through other administrations where they did sweeps or things of that nature. But obviously, it was a much larger issue at the very beginning of my tenure here. When the doors were open prior to my arrival, we had 3 or 4 very specific incidents where I would arrive, and when I arrived, there would be people already inside the building. Several of those with serious mental health issues, homeless, whatever. One of them that I came face to face with twice. Who was using our bathroom as their shower room, completely nude, clothes all over the floor, aggressive, had him removed by law enforcement. It was at that period of time where I know we had these discussions, but took action in my own hands and said the door can't open until I get there, which means the only people who would have access to that building were the people with a key. And then I unlocked the front door. That way I knew exactly who had entered the building was only an employee. We also had an incident, I apologize, one where that same gentleman had made his way all the way upstairs and was sitting on the floor and had his phone plugged in to charge it on our charger, and a office employee for the public defender's office had come around the corner and was basically staring directly at him, and she was the only other human being inside that building. And so we haven't had those issues up until now. My office has taken somewhat of the responsibility to make sure that I'm usually the first one in, last one out, to make sure that those things are done. At this moment, I also notified, and I had to apologize for Larry. I can imagine that was his individual employee, not a county employee, but I found out about it. It just so happened that that employee was standing right there, and I wanted her to know right now. I knew that it was possible she could be there that day on her own, And the whole intention was to look at her and say, listen, I understand it's a security system, but don't trust it. Okay, this is the issue I've had. I had just found out about it. And specifically what I got was a phone message that said, hey, this is so-and-so, Mr. Lapham. We were supposed to have an appointment. It's currently 4:35. Your office is dark. It's closed. I'm inside the building. What are we supposed to do? I don't know. I thought I had an appointment, blah, blah, blah. The truth is he had an appointment. It was supposed to be any time on every Friday before 4:30. Now, I couldn't tell you whether there's an actual time lapse between my office's clock on their computer that says 4:30, because I'm, whether you like it or not, I'm a stickler for the 4:30. We go out and make sure it's done, and that our office doesn't lock until then. If there's a time lapse between what we believe 4:30 is and when that door shut, or whether that gentleman came in, sat in the bathroom 10, 15 minutes in an attempt to avoid his meeting with me, and then just waited and, here, this looks like an excuse, and then did that. I don't know. And I don't think it's appropriate to question him about that. We will have our conversation individually. So no, I don't know what the gap is. I will tell you at the very beginning of it, I was unhappy with the idea. Where the scanners are placed were things that I already had control of. So for me, it felt like somewhat of a waste of funds. But I've made it clear I'm not a security expert. So if there were explanations of what could or could not, why it was done, I would listen. So to move forward, what I notified my office was we're going to clear the building ourselves. Previously, I've had a couple incidents, unknown baggage, things left outside of our department, things of that nature. I had, as I said, there was an inconsistent thought pattern of whether the sheriff's office actually provided security for our building. So at the beginning, I did make some calls to courthouse security, and I understand their definition is courthouse security, not annex. And they said, sorry, but we just don't provide that. So I carry the situation myself. But moving forward, and that's what I've told my office to do. Before we walk out of the building, we're going to make sure that door is secure, that the computer works, and the bathrooms are clear on our floors and the floors that we take care of. Right now, that's the best I can do. My original request, or the ones that I looked at, I've been through 3 administrations with the Sheriff's Department. I didn't have much time with the very first one. The second one, I did request them to come over and give us at least some kind of idea of what they thought would be necessary security-wise, but obviously that was for my department only. Those expenses were significant, severe, and at the time, we had a lot of needs, and I didn't know if those were going to be at the top priority of either county or council or otherwise. So we did the best that we could with what we had. I did bring those back up when we had our gentleman sneaking into the building, but I understand that those are significantly expensive. Also, security has been a political topic, and I'm not a political animal and don't feel like getting involved in the bipartisan stuff when it comes to that, and even discussing it. But my original request for the cameras was not just for my department, or not just for those people. I understand, don't understand what we do, but there's only 2 sections of people within the county that deal with criminal behavior 100% of the time. That's us and our brothers in the corrections inside the jail. That's it. Everybody else has some public service, has traffic detail, has a lot of other things, but we're 100% dealing with criminal behavior. But we're not the only ones that I think would benefit from the camera. You also have what I would consider civil liability. Anything that happens inside that building, if you got a camera, you have the ability to have a record of it. You have the ability to take a look back, and make sure that the county is covered with that. It's one of the requests that I made, and I appreciate the council and the commissioners having followed, which was to remain the back door closed. That does allow us one entrance. For 90% of the time, we do have a couple community meetings and things of that nature that require that back door be open, but we know that at those times we just have to be a little bit more vigilant. But having that back door closed was another positive step in the right direction. But that's my concern. going forward. But it's the same as with the installation and with everything else. When I originally checked, and it's something I made sure to make sure the council knew, the people I work with here have been immediately responsive. Right when it was put in, I went out, I checked it, it didn't lock. I spoke with Jack after hours. He was on the phone with me and assured me that it would be fixed and it would be changed, and within minutes, I go and the lock is locked. We've had some issues with our back door with installation. I talked to Larry, and same day they're out there taking a look at it and seeing whether there's anything they can do about it. Although ultimately our entrance just has that problem. I think it has had that problem forever. I don't know if we'll ever get it fixed. It's just here and there it decides that it wants to stick open. But my officers are expected to make sure that that's closed. So you take that into consideration. I guess the biggest issue for me is that the installation of those card readers was somewhat of a step back for us until they're, it works, or there's a secondary person like dispatch or someone else. The installation of the camera, I think, would be beneficial not only for our department, security in total, but for the county as a whole, because someone else will have the exterior ability to monitor what's happening inside the building at all times. Definition on the responsibility for any added security. I understand that. I've never come in here and asked for the same type that's included in the courthouse. I completely understand that that's a very large expense, not only for a deputy. Not asking for the same amount of security that's provided in the courthouse. I understand that this significant amount of expense for a deputy and everything else. Not really. I've never made that request. If a security expert were to come in and tell you that was what they had to have, I completely understand that may be another thing that you have to look at and say is the cost-benefit analysis, which is what you make. But things like our ability to electronically survey the entire building at all times would help. So the cameras, I think, though, regardless, I know they're probably a pretty penny, would be helpful.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
By the way, the annex over on 7th Street does have cameras in their lobbies. As a matter of fact, I did ask security the other day when we had to do a termination in that building. We were not concerned about the employee, but a situation maybe in the parking lot, and they were willing to at least monitor the video cameras for a situation. So I really appreciated that.
So I was not aware of this incident until just this morning, and so I was walking in the building and Michael kind of filled me in. And so I want to add to this a little bit that obviously my department doesn't work regular hours. So we have an office and it's also at the very front entrance of the annex. And so I'm not in during regular business hours. So after hours, a lot of times I'll have a case in the middle of the night and I don't want to go home and get my dogs barking and wake Rick up. So I will go to my office and work on case reports, and knowing that someone was in that building after hours without security, that scares me to death. I know one morning I was working in, this has been a bit of time ago, but about 3 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden I heard somebody say something, and it was Clint. So I about had a heart attack. But anyway, we also, while we don't deal with necessarily just criminals, we deal with very high anxiety, high emotions, and we do deal with some very difficult families. A couple of months ago, we had an incident where we had someone pass away on a weekend of a drug overdose. He'd just been released from federal prison, and the family called me. I happened to be in the office that morning at the coroner's office before I went into my full-time job, and they were very threatening and they were making demands of me. And I said, this is what's happening with the case. You aren't legal next of kin. I'm not able to release this information to you. Let me do some digging and I will get back with you. Well, in the interim, then they came into the annex building after I left, and I believe went to HR. And while Morgan said that they weren't threatening with her, the potential there is great. And I learned thereafter that one of the people that was in the building actually had just been also released from federal prison on a murder charge. So these are very violent people that we're dealing with. I've had this happen at the health department where a family came in. They drove all the way from Chicago, insisted on seeing me. I was in Fort Wayne. They threw a huge fit and refused to leave, and I actually had to get the state police involved. And they met me at the sheriff's department to diffuse the situation. So I'm a scrappy individual, but I'm a little bit frightened of these kind of people. So any sort of added security that we could have, I would certainly appreciate. And having known now what happened, I will not be going into the annex unless this is in the evening after hours and until this is rectified, and I will relay the same to my staff. It's not going to be safe unless we can do some sort of sweep of the building when the building closes. So thank you for your time.
Would it be possible to, maybe you need to come in at, let's say, at 3 in the morning again? Surely there's road officers out there. Could we make a call to a road officer or to dispatch and say, hey, Jenny's going to go in the building. Could you meet her there? Just walk through it with her. Doesn't feel comfortable going in there. Yeah, for now, get the cameras.
Right,
but for
probably
now,
rather than do that, I would just go to the sheriff's department. I have key code access.
There you are.
And
yeah.
knowing that, I will just do that. And
Yeah.
but yeah, certainly that's frightening to know.
Yeah.
They do a sweep at 4:30 and a building check, there shouldn't be any problem later on.
If they do it, that's what I'm saying. If we
Well,
get to do it.
I think we need to make sure that happens every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, I had someone calling my cell phone all night long, threatening me and wanting to find out where I was, my location. And again, extensive criminal history. And that at that point, and you probably all know, my husband's a police officer. He was a sniper with the SWAT team. And I woke him up, and I've never done that before. And I said, Rick, I am scared. I am scared something bad is going to happen. And he said, let them come. And I'll leave it at that. But I mean, it's
true.
I don't think people realize that with the coroner's department, it is. There are some very high emotions, and there are some people that we deal with that have very sketchy backgrounds. And so definitely extra security would be appreciated.
Yeah.
I have a
Not
question.
sure where the disconnect was between sheriffs because it used to be, and this was prior to the security unit even here in the courthouse, that the transport officers, when they were not transporting, they did walkthroughs to here, health department, annex building.
And I know when the security downstairs was full staff, they would walk through the other buildings before the,
I have a question about the overtime. Does security fall underneath the 40-hour a week, or is that 96 or 86 hours every 2 weeks?
They fall under the 40.
They fall under the 40.
and now, I don't know this for sure, but I believe Jack has cameras already. They just need to be installed, I believe. And I would have to check with him to make sure that's true. But I was thinking he had some cameras.
Well, we certainly have funds available for cameras or installation. We were just talking about making good use of the ARPA funds that we have left. So that's an easy fix there. But I think we need to do whatever we need to do to make sure we've got an officer doing a building check and a sweep starting at 4:30 today. And
It's a good
That's
idea.
probably more
And
critical than the camera.
yeah,
And I think the sweep of checking the doors and after everybody's gone, I mean, that should kind of make everybody feel somewhat comfortable knowing that the building's been.
Is there any motion detection equipment in that building when is there an alarm system that gets engaged when?
no.
Why not, on top of this, why not have motion detection in the building? Because I have it in my home, I have it in my business, and if a motion detector goes off, hey, there's someone in the building.
I mean, that does answer one of the other questions, which is the fact that you guys the county has after-hours community meetings.
Yeah.
I mean, to look at the sheriff's department and say you're also responsible for after-hour sweeps after those done, I don't know who, that would be kind of an at-will basis. Obviously, courthouse security not here. I mean, 4-H may have some things. I think there's some bigger community meetings. To say that somebody has to be there and do the sweep after it's over, those are some of the other things necessary. But yeah, that type of equipment.
I mean, it's very simple and it's fairly inexpensive. I think there ought to be an alarm system in there with motion detection and, that's your best way to know if someone's in the building.
Well, and if you think about it, we have the public defender's office there.
Yeah.
I mean, we know the type of people they have, and probation has.
Sure.
So.
Well, I think Mark's staff usually gets there early too.
Yes, that's, yeah,
You know,
before anybody else.
but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's the details, so yeah, you don't want to circumvent your security program.
Yeah, we don't need to
But
review.
I think you're right. Moving forward, we should try to get the sheriff's department to do a sweep. And then that way, at this point, we know that the building is somewhat secured.
Yeah.
And as Donnie mentioned, even if it's, 15 minutes overtime a day, that's pretty minuscule in terms of potential liability. So I would not have a problem, even if we had to do it with a little bit of overtime.
Do we want that to be a starting point then, a security sweep?
I think so.
Yeah.
Get that underway.
I think that needs to happen immediately, but I'd like to look into a security system for that building with
Yeah,
motion.
I agree with
So
that.
do one of you need to
If I
go
talk
to
the
the sheriff or chief and make
I'll call Brady,
sure
ask him what
they,
it takes to do it.
Okay,
There's no reason why it can't be done. He surely can use one of his officers for 15 minutes a day, and, for something that important.
And we're fully staffed over there because I've been asked to pull all of my postings because they're fully staffed. So, back in the day when we were not fully staffed and they were stretched, I guess I could understand that. But Michael is right. We did have officers, transport officer, and Susan, transport officers, would just walk in, kind of take a, walk around upstairs, making sure everything was fine. And it was just a level of security
Well, and it needs
for
to be-
everyone.
It needs to be a thorough look too. Sometimes you can do these walkthroughs and you get lazy. Well, you look in the room, no one there. Well, look in the closet, look under the desk. I mean, you really need
Look in
to.
the restroom.
Look in the, and really look.
And I'm sure
It
that,
needs to be more than just a cursory.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there's no one in here. Goodbye.
I'm pretty sure that's probably what happened. That gentleman was in the restroom.
Sure.
And after the hours, the door's locked, and so.
That's why though the motion is such a big deal because you never know, they could hide in the ceiling tiles. People that are weird,
Yes.
I think we learned over the weekend that
Yeah.
security is going to be a big deal going forward because people are nuts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's time to get on this.
Now,
I think
we-
4:30 is a good start though.
You want to check with Jack and see about the cameras, whether
Yes, I
he's
will.
got them
if
or
he's got
not.
those cameras.
Yeah, I'll talk to Jack about it, and I just make sure I didn't overspeak, but I thought that's what he told me.
See where we're at there. Okay.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay,
Let's do that. I'll call Brady after the meeting.
all righty.
All right, good. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Good day.
Okay,
A Larry show.
you done, Dottie?
No, I'm really not done, but I know Larry has something.
You got
else
48 seconds,
he
Larry.
has, yeah.
Okay, Larry, what you got?
Okay, two things. We'll do Sunny Meadows first. I'm working on getting another quote for the air conditioning units. I talked to Cody and said, hey, can we make a bundle deal? Because the three that we were talking about, and then the women's side that one's having trouble too. Anyway, so he's working on a quote for me. He said he'd have it to me today. So,
Good.
I'll let you know,
Where's the quote coming from?
Auburn Public.
Oh, another quote from them. you
Yeah.
mean. I thought you meant from a different.
Do you have a
provider.
second quote
I
in
do
mind?
not. I do not. Just theirs.
Just theirs? Should we contact Gibson's?
If you would like me to.
How do
I
we do
can.
that?
I think it'd be a good idea just to cost compare, just to make sure. Auburn Heating's always done a great job, but
Yeah,
there's no harm in letting
just
someone
make
else take a
sure,
look.
yeah.
Okay.
Because they might even have a different idea. Sometimes people say, well, hey, let's get rid of this whole thing
Yeah.
and redo it this way, you know?
Let's do that. Let's
Okay.
do that.
Okay, second, Otis sent me this, the oil in the elevators are 10 years old. I honestly did not read through all this paperwork to see what all it is. But I'm sure it's probably something that we probably should get done, but when I seen the price, I was like, oh my goodness,
Plus 2,500 per unit to remove the fluid.
yeah.
25, how much fluid is it? 7 million gallons?
I don't know how much it is.
This is insane.
But to take the fluid, I don't know how much the fluid, I don't know how much there is. So I would think we could probably find somebody to come.
Bring it
and
to
get
the car lot and I'll get rid of it for you.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah,
I got,
2,500 a unit? I mean, they haul it away for like, I think we pay $1 a gallon to haul it away. So if it's 50 gallons, it's $50. Bring it to me in 5-gallon jugs.
Yeah.
I think that, I thought that was, but
when they redid the jail, renovation on that jail elevator, wouldn't they have changed the fluid then? Was it changed then? Do we
but this
know?
isn't for the jail.
It's not for the jail.
This is just for the 2 elevators in the courthouse and the elevator at the annex building. That's the 3.
Okay, that's the 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it? Go ahead, Bill.
Do those systems have filters on them? Do you know?
You know, I'm
'Cause
not sure.
hydraulic oil does not wear out.
Well, it shouldn't get dirty either if it's a sealed, clean system.
Well, they could be contaminants from wear and tear.
Yeah, from the,
But
pump
that,
and,
a
but
filter
It'll start to
would take
oxidize
care of that.
eventually, but
I think of sealed, we have a Bobcat that the hydraulic fluid in it's 28 years old. And I pulled the dipstick the other day and it's still bright red. And so if it's got a good filter, I think we need to assess the condition of the fluid before we just spend 30 grand changing it. But we want to stay on top of it, don't get me wrong, but at 30 grand, I think you got to start saying, wait a minute, does this really
Well,
need
that's why I
done?
brought it to you, because I'm like, I'm on the fence, to
But
be
there's
honest.
2 things, and I'm like Todd, I've got a tractor that's got 1,700 hours on it, never changed the fluid. But I change the filter, and then I do an additive. So there's ways of doing this without changing it all the way out and having all that excess oil that we're gonna throw away or do something, pay to have taken care of. And so I think we need to look at the other options.
And Todd, I think you were thinking of just doing it for free. I don't think technically under the statute you could even get $50.
Oh, I do it for free.
I just wanted to clarify that, even if it was, I mean, just because.
Or I can turn you on
you're
to
not allowed
safety
to
clean
use
and
your
they'll
own.
haul it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
you'd have to do it for free and not have any money go from the
Or
county to you.
I could present it and say, hey, I'll haul away your waste and you guys can vote on it if you want, or whatever. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to save the taxpayers $2,500.
I appreciate that, yeah.
Per unit. I mean, that's,
Yeah,
there's
that's
no way. it can go
$7,500
up.
for,
That's insane.
I agree.
Unless there's literally thousands of gallons and there's not, it's probably 5 or 10 gallons a unit at the most.
probably.
I mean, hydraulic
It could
fluid
be
goes a
more
long
than
way.
that.
You think so?
Yeah, it could be 50, maybe 100.
Okay, well,
But
here nor
still.
there, it's still $100 to get rid of
Yeah,
and
still,
not.
yeah.
That's a,
I'll donate it, let's put it that way. You get the fluid to me, I'll donate getting rid of it.
Okay.
So, I will check, I'll check to see if they have filters on them. I do not know that for sure.
Would you check?
Should.
They should have filters.
Because they have a oil, a holding tank,
Yeah.
so there should be, on one end or the other coming in or going out, there should be a,
Generally, it's
Yeah.
before it comes into the pump.
yeah.
It's right before the
Right.
pump is where the
Yeah,
filter would
between the
be.
tank and the pump.
Yeah.
The reservoir and the pump.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
You
this
can get a
is,
measurement of those tanks and you get an idea of how many gallons are in them also.
Yeah.
It's 8 gallons per cubic foot.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, well, 7.8 gallons
So
per
it's-
cubic foot.
so this is actually $9,250 per elevator plus an additional 2,500 per elevator if we have them take it out.
Or dispose of the fluid. They're gonna take it out regardless, but they're not gonna dispose of it.
Okay, so I know they're ancient and stuff, but by not doing this, does it negate any not that we have warranties left on it, does it negate anything?
None of those would be on warranty. The only one probably on warranty is the jail, and they probably changed that one.
Yeah, I would think.
They should have, when
Yeah.
Yeah.
the 80,000 they spent on it or whatever
Yeah,
it was.
that would be the only one that would involve any warranty.
Okay.
It's like we need to get into this business, though.
Let's go, Todd.
I'm not knocking these folks, good for them, I'm just saying, wow, that's big money. Pretty specialized, though, I mean, how many people are in the elevator service business, so.
Changing hydraulic fluid is very specialized.
No, I wouldn't think.
That's all I have. Anything else while I'm here?
No, I don't think so.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Okay, what do we got next? Dottie,
All right, I'm still here, yes. There is a situation we need to take care of regarding, you had approved an employee's PTO when that person was hired by the prosecutor's office. So the question being, the PTO time. Does the person accrue the PTO time? You gave them so much, but then there's the years of service. So anyway, we just need that clarification. How is that employee being recognized? Is this the person's first year of service? Or because you gave that person 4 weeks of PTO, are you recognizing that person years of service at the level when you achieve 4 weeks of PTO?
Did they work for us before?
Yes.
Okay, you're going to, don't start a precedent. The person.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. Let's go back. This person was a part-time employee for us
Part-time.
for a few years. And then was gone, and prior to that, worked for us for several years full-time. But in our employee handbook and the way that all other employees are handled, any of those hours that years of service that the person did prior to them leaving doesn't count, and any of those part-time years that the person put in does not count toward their years of service.
Gotta stick with the handbook here, guys. It opens a can of worms on the.
Yeah.
I mean, we made the concession on the PTO, which is great. They were happy, and I think we have to stick to years of service. So.
Well, that was my basis for my vote when I voted for the PTO.
Right.
Was that the years of service wouldn't.
I think we gotta stick to the handbook on the years of service. Otherwise, we're gonna get that as well, hey, I worked 18 years ago for 7 years. I want that added in, you know?
And then you get into the perf
Yes,
thing.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So we just wanted to make sure that that was formalized. Susan, is there any sort of a formalization that they need to do, vote what? Or can I just go back to that department and tell them the person's hire date is their new hire date? Boom. What?
It probably doesn't hurt to have a vote on it since we're having a discussion anyway.
Okay.
I think it'd be better to just wrap it up with a vote.
And those 4 weeks were granted one time or additional 4 weeks every year?
I think it's 4 weeks every year.
Okay.
Until they reach more than 4 weeks.
right.
So that employee is at the maximum number of weeks that they can have
But
PTO
it's every
until
year
they.
for them was my understanding.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
right, right, which would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it would make sense. You wouldn't want to have them go back to one week the next
Yeah,
year.
Yeah.
4 weeks,
Yeah.
then back to 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we want a motion that we're granting the 4 weeks each year until, till the
Until their years of
years of
service reaches
service
5
reaches
weeks.
5.
PTO.
Motion?
But,
Prior work does not count towards
Right.
years of
Prior
service.
work does
Yes.
not count towards your years of service. That's my motion.
That's the motion.
Yes, yeah.
Got that,
Well,
Susan?
that'll be my second.
Wait a second. Okay, any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you, Dottie. What else you got?
Let's see, later on, Susan will have documents for you to sign, Bill, regarding Apex and our a contract with them, our agreement with them. I sent an email last week that Lauren at Apex was going through her file, and it's like, oh, I don't see a signed copy. Neither did I. So evidently, somewhere along the line, we must have dropped it. So I will ask you to do that. Really, besides that, and I know we need to move on, and I thank you very much again for that big conversation earlier. We had, I just want to make sure that you understand what kind of service that we get from IPEP, the Indiana Public Employees Plan for our work comp. We have, they track all of our work comp incidents, and we reach out to them. We had a situation last week. The coroner's office had asked me if they could be issued bulletproof vests. And I know Jenny just talked about the sometimes the population who contacts her and her people, but it was suggested that perhaps they could be issued outdated bulletproof vests from the sheriff's office. And I said no, and emphatically no.
I see a problem with that as well.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
if they're outdated,
and-
that means they're not,
You're providing security, but you're not.
It's need to be
Yeah.
secure, yeah.
The sheriff's office should be, getting rid of them. But I put Jenny in touch with IPEP's law enforcement specialist. Got the information that she needed in a very short period of time. Jenny was able to take care of the situation with her staff, letting them know, and had some real solid information from IPEP about other coroner's offices in larger counties, in more difficult, counties. And so just another yay for IPEP. But let's see, right now, we only have, as of June the 30th, 3 open cases with them. They are with the sheriff's office, but to be expected, as usual. And so, so IPEP is doing a very nice job for us. So kudos. The last thing is, when it comes to hiring, we believe we're going to reopen our posting for 911 dispatchers. Wasn't quite what management at Central Communications had really wanted. So we may be doing that. We're going to review what we currently have, but the initial thoughts were, well, we're going to have to reopen that. Community Corrections has a full-time residential opening, but they are waiting for, they have a candidate, they're waiting for background check, drug screen. Juvenile facility, a program person at Change, that person that they currently have, we hope you will agree, part-time, is leaving in August, and so they're trying to plan ahead, get another person in there for that. Superior 2, still working on their bailiff opening. Sunny Meadows. Morgan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we still have part-time third shift, and we have a full-time third shift openings, and full-time second shift? Okay, all right, those. And as we keep going, the prosecutor's office still needs an attorney. And once again, I reposted with the universities in the area that have law firm, or have law departments to get with their alumni, posting, things like that. The Allen County Bar Association, just trying to renew our efforts there. So those are our situations. We had 2 terminations last week. The surveyor's office is asking to repost for their office manager position. We hope you will agree that that is an important position, and we need to get that one filled. And the other one is a probation officer. So those are the situations that we've been dealing with. We're pretty sure that the insurance plans, both the dental, vision, and then also our medical plans, I think we're doing okay there. So anything for me?
I do have both of these agreements if you want to go ahead and do them. Apex had a letter of agreement. It just states what the services they're going to do for us. And they also had a business associate agreement, and that has to do with when they receive or create any information with the protected health information, the PHI.
The HIPAA,
Yeah, the
PHI.
HIPAA stuff. So I just need a motion to accept and for Bill to sign each of those.
I'll make that motion. I made the motion.
Oh, I'll second.
Okay,
It was quiet, I
motion,
was like, huh?
okay, motion and second on the floor. Are there any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. Motion carries.
Right away.
Got one question, Todd. Was you wanting Apex to come in and explain some of this fixed cost?
I need to understand it better, obviously, yes.
Can we arrange that, Dottie?
Yeah, we just need a break, we need them to go over the presentation again, have some specific questions on fixed costs and on projected expenditures too. Could have asked a little deeper when they presented, but. Thank you.
I'll send these to you. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dottie.
Patty?
Okay, Mr. Gomer. You are up.
Oh, my goodness.
Hi, Chris.
Good morning, Chris.
Doing well. 99 bottles of beer.
Don't we wish that was on Wall Street. This is the our building department side for the building codes and then their fees that we went over. It's probably been 4 or 5 weeks now. Really, nothing has changed much. In light of what we're going to be discussing later, around 11 o'clock, I believe, we may want to table this again until another week or another 2 weeks. On page 6, and again, we can discuss this more after the discussion later on at 11, but how we issue building permits are based off of how things are labeled in the ordinance. And while I will say there's been some creative liberties as far as our office labeling them what they need to be, I think we need to probably add, which I added on 5, agricultural buildings, and what those are. As you guys are probably gotten your emails, the thing was listed as a residential accessory structure because that's all that we have. We don't have anything else. We can edit them and we can do that, but
Well, I think that was part of the communication. take it to be more like a shed or a garage or something rather than a.
Right, I mean, but we didn't have anything else
Well, yeah,
for
that's it.
an
Are we talking
accessory,
about
or
the
for an.
chicken farm here?
Yes.
Okay, all
Yes.
right. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same project.
Yep. So, if you want to, that's the only thing that I've added to this ordinance that's different from what we talked about 4 weeks ago, I
Is
believe.
that the statement not including industrial or commercial operations or structures? Is that what you're talking about? Under 5?
So, oh, sorry, I meant 6, not 5.
Oh,
6.
okay,
That
okay.
was already there.
Oh, okay,
Sorry.
all right.
I-
Okay, 6.
I said
I'm sorry.
5, but I meant 6.
Okay, all right, all right.
Sorry about that. So anyway, adding the agricultural buildings as a permit
I see.
type.
Permit
So we can
type.
add that in as our permit,
Makes
in our
sense.
permit software
Yeah.
as a type.
I think that's wise.
Yeah. Clarifies it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope, there's some things in there that have caused issues that we can go back to. The only other thing too, I think that we added was the movement of any structures on county roads. Those permits are all handled through the treasurer's office as mobile home permits. Anything else is gonna be done through Ben Park. The people are gonna, if people need to use county roads, they're going through the highway department. We've never issued a permit for somebody moving a big structure on a county road. And I don't think we need to. I think if it's the highway department, exactly, it's not our
Control of the
department.
roads, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we should table this again for another 2 weeks, discuss what we're going to discuss at 11 o'clock. If this is something that we want to see as a change, I'm fine with doing it. I think it makes sense.
I agree.
Okay,
And then bring it back in 2 weeks. Sorry, I would have
I agree.
brought that to you later or earlier, but
that's fine.
anyway. And if you have any other questions on this, the log cabin rule and stuff, I know we discussed, but if you've got questions on it, we can go over it. But I think for now, it's smart to table it for another couple weeks.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Let's do that.
Do I need
So-
a motion to table?
I don't think so.
Did you do it as a, because it's fees, do you have to public hearing notice it? No, not yet, because then you'll just do it when we,
You have to publish notice
It's approved.
afterwards, I think, in the paper.
Yeah, once it's approved, then it goes,
yeah, goes in the
but I've
newspaper.
never done a public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to.
No, I just have to publish it.
Got you. That's up to you if you want a motion to table it. I'm fine with that. It was under the assumption we were going to bring it and get it passed today, so.
I think a motion to table would look appropriate on the record.
I'd make a
There
motion
you
to
go.
table the resolution for,
Do we have a number for that resolution?
We did.
6, 2024-R-6.
okay, make a motion to table 2024 R-6 for 2 weeks.
I will second.
A motion second on the floor. Additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Susan, do you have a time for that, or do you want me to just get with your office? I have something right now.
I'll let you know later.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
See ya.
Great, Thank you.
thanks, Chris.
No problem.
Okay. Let's move into payroll biweekly. Pay the people.
Move to approve payroll.
I will second that.
A motion second on the floor to approve payroll and additional comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same. Payroll is approved. Claims. Any claim?
We didn't have any claims?
No claims. I didn't
No.
think.
Good to see a claims run, so,
No, that was just me not taking it off.
okay.
Minutes. Yes, did you go with the minutes?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve minutes.
And I'll second.
Motion and second to approve minutes, additional comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same. Minutes are approved. Miscellaneous. Mary's not in for 9:45, isn't she?
Correct.
Knock that survey out
Yes. The
due
survey.
today, so.
Yeah. Got all the answers, unless somebody we've got all the answers unless somebody's got an argument or
I have no problem.
objection to the answers. All we got to do is copy them over.
I think that's exactly what we should do. So how do we make that motion? What's the correct verbiage for copying answers from another entity? Is that plagiarism? Are we in trouble?
I'll make a motion to respond to the EMS survey with the answers that we have been provided by Parkview EMS.
That we reviewed 2
Yes.
weeks ago. I will second that.
That you've read
Yes,
before you're
yes,
adopting here.
yes,
All right.
and I read it
That's
too,
good.
so I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Are there any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries. Okay,
So, well, I guess the question becomes, who is physically going to do that? Because it's an online survey. Do you want,
If I know where to go, I can do it.
I'll forward you the email with,
Okay.
with the link.
Do you have time to do that, Susan?
Because I can do it this afternoon if you,
I'll take care of it.
okay.
just so we get it done
You better
today.
watch your answers.
What's the penalty if we don't get it in today?
Yeah, we need to get it done.
They'll come and shut us down.
Yeah,
Shut us down.
great.
It'll be done.
You can take over.
Okay. Commissary report, acknowledgement of receipt. You get a chance to go over that? I did briefly.
You know, I missed that one.
It was in
I
the,
missed that.
It looks like this.
Can I just see it real quick?
Yeah.
Or I'm sure it's pretty straightforward. I remember it last year. Give me just a moment to look at it. Always cracks me up, the inmate phone's 31,000 a year. That's amazing. That's a lot of income.
Okay, I just sent it to you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Looks just like last year. Numbers are a little different.
I'm sorry, Todd, what?
Looks the same as last year. Numbers a little different, but I'd make a motion to
Acknowledge receipt.
acknowledgement received of this commissary report from the sheriff.
And I will second.
a motion and a second on the floor. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Looks like they've made some good gains in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The
monetary
numbers are a
value.
little different, but looks good to me.
165,000 in the kitty.
Yeah, it's nice. Those phones, 31,000 in phone calls. That's amazing.
Ain't got money for an attorney, but they got money for phone calls.
Yeah, right.
Strange how things work. Cybersecurity Grant Program signature.
Okay, so these are, the verbiage on it is identical. One of them, the Homeland Security, like, they retain $75,900. The other retains $368,000 in these grant funds, so none of this is coming from us. One of these is for our actual cybersecurity. The other one is also cybersecurity, but part of our Know Before training. So these are literally just so that we can participate in this training and the cybersecurity with the Department of Homeland Security. And it is just Bill's signature.
So we're covering the cybersecurity grant and the Know Before signature, is what you're saying?
I have them separate, but I can,
Oh,
yeah.
So their grant, like, we're just the pass-through entity for the grant?
We
Is that
don't
what you're
really
saying?
even see it. It's
Okay.
just the verbiage that they use at Department of Homeland Security state-wise, and we have to sign to be a part of
Be a
the
part of it.
program.
now it says fiscal year 2022.
I asked that, and he said that those are the forms that all of the counties are signing.
So what year is it, like technically for? 2024, 2025, or 24/25? Or do we not know?
I have no idea.
Okay.
So are we literally retaining 360?
We aren't. That's just their verbiage. That's how I could tell the difference between which one was
Okay.
no before and which one was cybersecurity.
Okay, do one at a time or both? Or I'll do one at a time, hadn't we?
If you do them both, I'll just put the same for,
Both, I think,
yeah.
A motion?
I'd make a motion that the President signed both the cybersecurity grant program and the know before grant documents.
Second.
A motion and a second on the floor. Are there any additional comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries. I will sign.
Real quickly, while we're on the cybersecurity subject, you probably all saw the email.
That's great.
Monroe County had a ransomware attack that shut the entire system down for about a week or a little over a week. It's going to be a multi-million-dollar recovery for them. Clay County also had something similar.
Yes.
I think that it would be wise for us to maybe send an email to everybody on the team, just reminding everybody that the know before classes are mandatory, as we've discussed here and voted on, and urging the department heads and everybody else to make sure that that training gets done every month. 'Cause this could be.
In Jack's budget presentation with the council, he said that they are going to start giving us elected officials and department heads reports of which employees are doing them and which are not, so that we can.
Yeah, we talked about that at the department head meeting the other day, but, and which I think is great. We should get a report, but I think we should just, as the commissioners, just send out an email and just a reminder.
You know, something that needs to be done too, and I know there's a lot of emails back and forth between departments, but there needs to be a verbal or a text confirmation too. Like when you sent me that
Yeah,
email,
that was weird.
I looked at it and said, this is a scam, but it didn't say DeKalb, you know, like the email. So I said, okay, maybe Jack's trying to trick me here, so I'm not going to open this. And it was 10 o'clock at night, I think. I texted Susan, I said,
Bill texted me too.
I said, did you send me this?
Well, so then I went in to look at it because I'm like, this is weird. Why are they asking me this? They never ask on
Yeah.
any other email. So I went in to look to see what it looked like, and it had to be because it was the encrypted part from
Yeah.
Lauren is why it looked that way.
And that's the biggest thing. That's 99% of all these ransomware attacks and stuff is someone opening an attachment they shouldn't
Clicking
open.
on a link that they shouldn't click on.
A PDF, or especially when they say, hey, review my numbers for me, click on this link. No, pick up the phone and call me. Hey, is this number? That's the thing that I think employees need to know the most is pick up the phone and verbally hear it, and don't call a phone number you don't know. In other words, oh, call me at my new number. No, that's another scam, you know?
Yeah.
This stuff's really pretty obvious, but we get fast.
Well, if people get in a hurry.
You get in a hurry and they
yeah,
just click on it, and, you know,
You get complacent.
you just need to slow down is the key.
The know before training, really seems kind of redundant or kind of simple or whatever, but I think we need to.
But the
just
reminders.
Remind everybody.
It's a good reminder, though.
Yeah.
Well, and not just about the training, but would the reports also include the people that are flunking the test? Because every once in a while, somebody's probably clicking on one, because they do phishing emails
Sure.
to test us.
I
time,
have
yeah.
no idea.
It would be good to know how many employees are missing that and which ones, because it might be the same employee over and over that is a higher risk
Yeah.
for ransomware attacks or something.
Well, if you open a phishing email, a test email from know before, you know it, because
Oh, yeah.
they
They
You're
tell
right.
you.
they let you know
They
right
email
away.
you back saying,
Yes.
aha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
okay.
I actually just forwarded one to Jack. I didn't even open it. I said, this is obviously a scam. And just by me forwarding it to Jack, I knew it was a scam from No Before.
Yeah.
And I said, can you make these questions a little harder, maybe? You know, but then I immediately got an email. You failed your, you know, I'm like, read the email. I'm calling this a scam to start. But anyway, it's important because, like I said, you get a lockdown, even if you have up to the minute updates on, or backups on everything, it's still many thousands of dollars to restore it all. It's a lot of overtime,
sure.
resetting servers, rebooting. I mean, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Not
think
good.
Monroe County, the ransom was like, I don't know, $76,000 or something like that. They turned it down and
Pay it.
it turned into a multi-million-dollar
Yeah.
restoration program.
Pay it.
Okay, is there any other miscellaneous?
I have one thing, and I sent it late last night, so I'm not sure if you guys saw it or not, but our Okra grant with Klein Peter Consultant, he's required to submit a 6-month report, and we haven't done anything yet. So the report literally says the project is scheduled to go to bid in July and is on schedule. He said that in other communities, he gets approval from the clerk treasurer or the auditor to submit. But I probably either need your approval each and every time, or I need your approval to allow me to approve him to submit these because it's the federal monies that are coming through as a pass-through. So I don't care either way,
He
but
does it every 6 months.
Yeah.
You're saying.
I'm fine with just doing this and you guys approving him to submit it every 6 months.
Are they the grant writer for us, or are they the ones that write the grant? Is that why they're submitting the report too, or
Yeah, they helped
They're the
with
grant
both.
administrator.
Yeah,
administrator? Okay. I'd be fine. It seems pretty simple. It's the same thing over to allow her just to file when it's due, as long as no information's changed. I mean, what do you guys think? I think it's a big deal.
okay.
Is that a motion?
I'll make
I
a
mean,
motion.
information is gonna change every 6 months. I know you said as long as.
Well,
information doesn't change.
the terms or the dollar amounts, I mean.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Well, maybe we should it's only every 6 months. So I'd make a motion just to,
That would be, yeah.
allow Susan to submit the, report. Then we'll just redo it every 6 months.
I'll second.
A motion second on the floor.
Okay, so, sorry, you're actually approving Mr. Klein Peter to submit the
Submit the report,
report
yes,
on our behalf.
on our behalf, yes.
Okay.
Correction, that is correct.
Okay. Any additional
you.
comments, questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries. What else you got?
Nothing.
Gentlemen, anything? On your end? We have nothing?
Mary is
I think
here
Mary's
if you're
here.
ready for
Yeah,
her.
let's bring Mary up. Come on up, Mary. And we'll get this taken care of.
Is it blue? Okay.
Some exciting stuff that we are trying to do. When we say land restoration, with our land restoration, it is going to take
And I have a letter of support drafted for you
Can I
to.
see it real quick?
So Mary, the original grant was the Quality of Place grant from the Visitors Bureau, is that correct? And then how short are you between that?
We are actually, short of that initial
Okay, all right,
quote for this project is about 5,000, we received 13,000 in the quality and place.
right.
We do meet the guidelines for that quality and place grant. The town of St. Joe does.
Right.
Make a motion, we sign the recommendation for the town of St. Joe to receive the grant.
I will second that.
Okay, motion and second on the floor. Are there any additional comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. Motion carries. We will all sign.
Hope that other 10,000 just falls right in your lap.
Well, it was actually suggested by one of the agencies that I approached that if I had more documentation or reached out further than.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Okay. Susan gets back. I think we'll dig into this proposal she's put before us on the ARPA money.
Mm-hmm.
Sent you back, Susan.
Yep.
I have your proposal here, suggestions, I
Oh,
should say, on the
yes.
ARPA funds.
Yes.
Let's go over that. We got a little time till break. This, everybody got their copy of that?
So the one thing not on here, obviously, is what was just discussed this morning with annex building. That could fall into here as well.
What's our balance available? Am I seeing this correctly? 963? No.
Look at the very, very top.
48,
4827.
No, right here.
47.
4847, 29795.
Okay, gotcha. That's our uncommitted balance?
Yes.
That is the balance of that fund of everything.
Everything.
So of all,
What part of
everything that's left.
Okay, so that's money available to use?
That's money that, okay, so you have your plan.
Okay.
And we've separated it out with your plan. So I gave ideas, and then if you see on the right-hand column, the first one starts with the balance, and then of the projects that were in there, the Bridge 17 is in there. The jail chiller, I wasn't sure on that one. I knew it came down, but that was in there. We have remaining highway contingencies. So what I was saying is if we use what we have left for whatever you guys decide, these are just ideas, then we would have our ARPA money either spent or
Committed,
to because I don't know when Bridge 17 is happening.
right.
And then one of my suggestions was I could go back and do an adjustment for that, for our County Road 56 grant match money that we did. And so on the left-hand side, under the blue box, then I how much money would go back into either lighted, rainy day, motor vehicle restricted, depending on if we did that or not. So it just would spend the money so that we're done with it. And then these other funds would just contain the money to use, say, for a different project that you had
Without
planned
timeline
on.
attached, without a deadline attached.
Yeah.
Because we were under the $10 million threshold. So we took all of that ARPA money as lost revenue.
Right.
Which means we can spend it on virtually any.
Virtually anything, yeah.
Operating
Yeah,
expense.
right.
So if we take some of Susan's suggestions, we're just paying operating expenses with it. We take that money that was in the budget for the operating expenses and just pull it out and settle it.
Allocate it, yeah.
It goes, but then that takes us out of the timeline situation for the end of '24 or the end of '26 because we've actually spent the ARPA money. But we've still got the funds available for projects
I see.
down the road. So everybody's happy and Susan doesn't have to file a report every.
I like the idea of spending the money on things like bridge, grant match. The reason being is these are necessities that we need to pay for now.
Yeah.
And if it lightens our budget, then, you know what I'm saying, if it helps with the budget to be more, what I want to say, diverse, be able to move on something else with our budget, with our money that we have in our revenue, if we can
It'll be available. for
alleviate
those.
that burden there, it gives us some more flexibility is what I'm saying.
How does this work with the Sunny Meadows money, though? We have an account designated for Sunny Meadows, right?
Yeah, there's 100,
A separate account, and that would come out of that
Well, there's,
Not
all the accounts are within that
within that.
4.8 million.
Yeah.
So in each of these little scenarios, then I subtracted the suggestions in different manners and got a balance. Like the first one, if we did those first six, whatever, 6 ideas, we would have 553,000 left. Then I put in, we need to do the AC, possible gutters. I will have some audit fees this year. I'm getting ready to exit our audit on Thursday. And then you still would have a balance and you can put it to anything. I just had put, the first 2 examples, I just had put maybe putting the balance to our self-insurance fund to make sure we don't go backwards in that fund, just to have a little cushion. That was just an idea. So,
the only thing we can't do basically is debt reduction, so we can't make
Right.
bond payments with it, or
Right.
we can't use it for payroll.
Right. But that's pretty flexible, otherwise we can
Yeah.
do just about anything with the money due to that threshold we're under, right?
Yeah, exactly. 'cause
So-
you could use it for,
Why not
Ordinary
use it for
operating
what we
expense.
need instead of future projects that we don't know what the costs are gonna be? I'm saying we don't do any
Well,
towards future, but I'm just saying,
but all that money's still gonna be there.
still gonna be there,
Yeah, we're just moving the money around
Right.
in the funds,
Put it in a pot.
so
Yeah.
it's
We're just
there.
dedicating it and
We
saying,
just,
assigning it.
we just do an end run around
Yeah.
December 31st of '24.
I actually like these suggestions. I find some great value in,
Yeah.
in improving our infrastructure and buildings, and, you know, that's what that money should be used for, in my opinion, at this point.
Yeah, I appreciate all the work you put into
Yeah.
that. That was not an insignificant amount of time to put all that together, I'm sure.
You want to decide on this today or sleep
I
on it?
would prefer,
I'd like to think
I'd
about
prefer
it.
if you guys
Look at all the
take,
options
Yeah,
here.
because I might want to scratch a little different here and
Yeah.
there, but I like this. This is a good start. I appreciate it.
yeah, I would say I would prefer you to
Yeah.
look at it a little bit. I mean, if we do it in 2 weeks, then
I think that'd
I'll be
work.
able to take it to council
Okay.
at the beginning, at their meeting in July to get their approval for the suggested changes and,
Let's do that, Bill, if it works for you, Mike.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah.
I'd like to review it a little. It's a lot of money. We should think about it. and-
Yes.
I was hoping-
But we need to move.
I was hoping
It's
to
time
say
move.
that.
Yeah, that's why in your email I said we don't have to talk about this today. A couple things that are not on here, they're not huge, but I want to put it out there. Brian Humberger had been in and asked for an additional appropriation for some radios that he's getting. I forget how many radios, 84s, I don't know, a bunch of radios. And that request was like 109,000 or so. But the funding that he gets is the public safety lit and the E911 funding. Both of those funds have ample balances. So I would leave it coming out of where he is proposing, plus we already paid to do that additional appropriation for the council to approve it. So I'd leave that there. One other thing that came up in budget meetings, and this isn't going to happen until next year, is this is where I got 84. The clerk has to get 84 new election machines through microvote, and that's like $232,000 there. But it's not going to happen until next year, and it can be planned for. But that would be another something that
Something we were to do with.
something that came up at the budget presentations.
What was the numbers on that again? How many machines?
84.
New ones?
They have to replace them, and it is based on the number of registered voters,
Really?
not the number of people that vote.
I knew we had a
Council
maintenance
asked.
contract on those that we
What was the money?
paid every year.
It was a little over 232,000.
Like 12 grand a year or something, or, there's a maintenance contract we paid on those machines every year. Remember, we had a discussion on that, it was 12 or 15,000 a year
Yeah.
or something. So this is, they need to be actually replaced after a certain amount of time too, huh?
Yes.
Is that a state requirement, I guess, or federal? We don't know.
I know it's some kind of requirement that she was given. I don't know which level.
Pretty amazing, you're required to replace your machines, but in a lot of states, you don't even have to present an ID. So, that's crazy how that works, you know? Well, it's something to consider. I mean, again, if it helps with the budget, you know, it's something you need.
And that would have been a cumulative capital development
Okay.
expenditure. So it would just help keep money in there
Yeah.
for future capital needs that may.
Right. And if it's not needed in the future, that all could be reappropriated to help with the general budget and, you know.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just, the stuff isn't getting cheaper. And when we need to buy stuff, it's time to buy it with the money we already have. That's, the way I understand this ARPA money, I don't know if, is it sitting in an account that doesn't generate interest? Is
Oh,
there
it's
a-
drawing interest.
It is drawing interest, so, okay.
Yeah, originally we couldn't do that. That's
Really?
what I believe, yeah.
Okay.
The original, stipulations on that.
That didn't
That-
last long, right?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't make sense to leave $10 million set and not
But
make
it's
any
drawing
money.
interest, but all the interest gets to be put in the county general fund. It
The
doesn't
county
go
general.
to the ARPA fund.
Which is fine.
Still help.
Yeah, that helps
Oh,
with the budget, so
huge.
it's great.
It helps a lot.
Yeah, so
But-
that's what I'm looking for, is to, hopefully someday maybe we can lower taxes a little bit, you know, and it's, you know, anything we can do to spend this money to help with the general budget makes sense to me.
What happens if we are required to go to paper ballots then? We won't need these machines.
Then that's when we succeed from the union and we're, yeah,
Just saying. Some
You're just
people are
talking
doing it.
hypothetically there, right, Todd?
the country of DeKalb. I don't know.
Okay,
Okay, good discussion.
yeah, what else? Anything?
Nope, I don't have it.
Anybody?
Early
Anything?
break.
Let's take a break.
Okey dokey.
We're off.
First thing on my list is last Thursday, I have our CCMG submitted. So that is done, submitted. We'll wait for results, probably October, November, I'm suspecting.
Great.
What's the money on that, Ben, just for information?
I asked, I'm shooting for the 1.5 million.
So it went up 500,000.
Yeah.
My estimate was, I don't have it with me. Maybe I do. Let me look.
Just roughly.
It was over 2 million, just over. $2,049,551.70. Just right, just shy of 10 miles.
10 miles.
So, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Should be good.
I hope so. Been successful in the past. Hopefully we continue that. They expecting a little bit more competitive bid process this time because they increased the amount. But we won't know that until it closes. How many submittals was in? It's till the end of the month. Got mine in early, so. See.
Most of the talk about CCMG being iffy or might be going away, most of that talk has died down now. I don't hear much conversation about that at all at the state.
It sounds like it's going to stay. There's enough money there.
Well, road funding is such a big emphasis with all the county organizations and cities and towns, AIM and ICC. I think they know they can't pull that off the table.
Right. Well, if they pull that, I hope they just send us the additional funds.
Right.
So, next thing I got, I did take a picture here just to send you guys. This was last week after the rain, but that's the Pete area on County Road 56.
Yeah.
That's been all dug out, all backfilled. The area you see that there's water there, that's where the county tile goes across.
Okay.
I met out there Friday with the surveyor and Fleming and BF&S. The county tile's plugged beyond our road project.
Really?
After that rain, it's pushing back on us. So they're gonna try to go downstream and find out where the plug's at, where we can get relief there. It's causing a little bit of an issue for us to get our pipe connected back in under the roadway. But, so we're working with the surveyor on that to try to get a solution figured out so we don't hold them up real long. The short-term fix is we're going just as in the drain right away, we're going on the outside of the road right away. We'll dig down, collapse the tile, and then pump it out of the way. Because it don't extend much further north than 56. It kind of goes up in that field and stops according to the map.
Yeah.
So we're hoping
right.
that we can collapse that, get the water to stop pushing back on us, lay the tile in the road right away. Hopefully the surveyor will get relief on it downstream, and then we can go in and reconnect it.
Now, they go the full 15 feet deep, we talked about.
Much, yes.
They have to de-water that, I assume.
There really wasn't much water at all.
Really?
No, the water that was in there actually helped with the compaction when we put it back. Did not have to do any de-water. We're doing more de-watering now than we did when they dug that out.
Dug
That's
it.
great.
That's amazing.
I'm surprised.
The rain we've had, the wet spring.
Right.
Huh.
I'm really surprised. I was out there, like say Friday, and they was driving the excavator across that area where we filled, and I was really surprised the stability that has.
Wow.
When they drove off to the edge to go out in the field and dig, that whole soil was like jello. I mean, it makes you a little nauseous standing there.
Really?
I mean, it shakes enough. Yeah, at least it did me. But, so, it's progressing. Fingers crossed, things stay on schedule and keep going. But I thought you'd find that picture a little interesting, so that's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
The only other thing I have for you is next Monday, July 22nd, API is supposed to start on this year's CCMG street paving package. They're going to start on County Road 29. I'm shooting to have that done before school starts back to Lakewood. So they want to start on that corridor, then work up to 60, and then finish out on 46A. They're getting down to the line, the completion date's August 23rd, so they're didn't have to get started on it. So, but their plan is to start Monday, this coming Monday, then hopefully they stay on it.
Good, good.
So, we're still on schedule for the end of this week with Brooks to haul the millings to County Road 5. That's still coming. And then we've got the paving project with Garrett. I believe Garrett's project is starting soon here, where they're gonna pave that section of 52 for us. So that's coming as well.
Okay.
So I got a lot of projects starting here at the end of the
Yeah.
month. So, but that's all I have for you guys. Other than we're just moving forward with the highway build yet. A lot of activity this last week
All
out
that.
there, a lot of activity. So hopefully,
Talked to the right people, didn't you?
evidently. So that's a good sign to see. Been communicating real well with me on things.
You still think our timeline's correct, or are you extending it out?
I don't know.
Okay.
They're working on things. I'm hopeful. There's quite a bit with the data that we got to do yet. I was out there last week with Jack and Williams and Weller. And AES is supposed to be getting with us to finish. There's quite a bit with the data stuff to do yet. And hopefully, we can get moving on that. Weller's got the direction on what needs to be pulled and hooked up and where. So hopefully I'll go pretty quick. Building 3's pretty much structurally complete. They was putting the service doors in Friday when I was out there. The overhead doors are up. They was buttoning up the steel.
That's pole barn,
Yep.
building 3.
Yeah.
I think that's structurally pretty well done. Weller was in there starting wiring on Friday.
Was he?
So they've got to wire that building, pull wire over to the salt barn for lighting, and then wrap up the data. And then they've got some odds and ends to finish up. They was out there painting this week. FCI was out there finishing up some odds and ends. Pranger was out there firing up equipment, heaters, air conditioners. The master was there. I say there's a lot of activity that's going on. So.
It's good news.
So hopefully, if everything stays on track, we should be pretty decent shape by the end of the month.
End of the month.
I'm hoping.
Yeah. I see you got the sand pad, that's already, you got some sand on that.
Yep,
Bunks
sand,
up.
we got one little spot we gotta finish. I mean, like, we're talking like a 10 by 12 area. We ran out of mix.
Okay.
The surface got to go out front yet. And we're hoping to get that wrapped up this week.
Great.
The guys are actually hauling sand up there this morning.
Great.
We still have the gate controls, is that not complete yet?
That's all kind of a part of the data too.
Yeah, I think
That's part of the data package, of course, yeah.
that's a big concern, data. I mean, everything's
yeah.
controlled electronically anymore.
The fire suppression, fire alarm stuff went live Friday.
Good.
So that's up, and going, been tested. Can't think of anything else, but,
Okay,
so, yeah, like I say, we're kind of really dependent on the data at this point, or we can do a whole lot, so.
the punch list,
It's dwindling,
is it?
it's dwindling, yes.
Good. It's got a long ways, had a lot to dwindle.
Yeah. There was a lot of things on there. Some of it was pretty small and some of it was big, but I haven't looked at it today, see if anybody marked anything off for the weekend, but it's dwindling, yes.
Okay,
Hopefully, hopefully it keeps moving forward. We're gaining.
Good.
they are laying asphalt on 327.
Oh, state?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're well on their way north. First coat, I assume they're doing an overlay over the top of that.
I assume I haven't been up there, Bill, I don't know.
Yeah, I think probably it's got some riffles in it from, and it's not up to grade as far as the approaches. So I'm assuming they're gonna put another layer on it.
Sounds
I
like
hope
it,
so,
yeah.
yeah. That's normal procedure, isn't it?
Most generally, they'll go through and put a wedge and level in there and then come back, put a surface on top.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Anyway, they're hard at that. So hopefully that gets opened up before too long. We can get back to life as normal, that part of the county.
Yeah, I know it's been a little burdensome up there.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we haven't had a lot of complaints out of that up through there, though. It's been good, so.
Well, yeah, I
People's
think
been
it's
finding their
appreciated
way
you got
around.
up there and got that dust control down, and
Right.
that helped a lot. Everybody appreciate that. Anything else? Anything for Parker? Anyone?
Nothing here?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think you're good to go.
all right. If you need something, let me know.
Thanks,
Will
Ben.
do.
Yep, thank
When's
you,
our
guys.
next meeting up there?
Should be Thursday,
This Thursday?
but. It should be, but there's no date. There's a new PM that took that over. I will find out,
Okay.
let you know.
That'd be the 2 weeks, so. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Ben.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Have a good one.
Well,
Mike's here if you, Hartman.
we got a little time, yeah.
He's scheduled
Mike?
for 10:30, but
You want to come on up? Got your penciled in at 10:30. It's about 10:30, so. Thanks, Todd.
Is your mic blue? Is it got a blue light?
Is-
Thank you.
Everybody hear me now?
Hey, yes.
Probably
Yes,
have that
thank you.
information in front of you about the empty lot in Butler that I sent you an email on. It was 23-07-11-278-025. I don't have an exact address, could not find an address other than Hickory Street. It's been owned by, or in the name of John and Norma Ford Penning. And according to Commissioner Watson, I think he said that's been on the tax sale since 2010. So 14 years on that tax sale, and it's accrued $15,071 in back taxes. I had an individual approach me a couple weeks ago and says, you know what, I've been maintaining that all these years. What can I do to get that land into my possession? Because he knew we had talked to the county before on these empty lots, probably 2 years ago, when I approached you guys about the 53 lots that we had empty in Butler, and I think you ended up deeding like 48 of them over to us. So we want to know if we can get that back in our possession somehow. He's interested in purchasing it. I don't know what price. But I think it's a good idea to possibly talk to you guys, see if you're interested in. I know you're probably not going to do a commissioner sale just on one parcel because of the expenses. So to me, and I can go back to the lots that we just sold that you guys had deeded over to us. So it was like 48 lots just 2 weeks ago. We ended up selling 19 of those lots. 10 of them were bought by a builder out of Fort Wayne. And the other 9 was bought by our local Ace Hardware, and they're going to put a storage facility on there for their overflow. So I kind of looked that up. The builder on the 10 houses, or the 10 lots, said he plans on having houses on there by the end of 2025 with a price tag of $215,000 to up to $300,000. So I'd done a comparison on a $250,000 house with assessed value in Butler. You're looking about $2,000 a year on taxes. Times that by your 10 lots, you're at $20,000. I don't know how much the commercial property will be, but it's a lot better than having it set there empty and not gaining any taxes on it. So I guess I'm back to the same deal to see if we cannot get that land here, work with the landowner on the city's behalf and get that in their name so we can get that back on the tax roll as well.
correct, refresh my memory. Those lots that we deeded over to them, those had went through commissioner sale even and didn't have any takers, didn't they? And that's why we gave them to the city of Butler at that point, didn't we?
I can't remember without actually going to look
Okay.
at it.
The only
I
reason
believe they
It
say,
all been on through the tax sale a
Right.
number of times without any
but they didn't go to commissioner sale after that,
It could have
though?
went to commissioner's sale.
possible.
What does the law
Every
say
year.
about what we have to do as far as if it goes to tax sale and doesn't get bid on, does it have to go to commissioner sale? Does anyone have an answer to that, or?
The commissioner's sale can be decided every year, whether you want to have one or you don't want to have one.
Because,
We chose not to have one with this last sale, because generally, a commissioner's sale every single year is not, I don't want to say it's not beneficial, but the amount to pay for the service to have the sale done is not really getting us
Right.
back the unpaid
Right.
monies that we don't have.
Well, let me ask this, if we would give this property to Butler, let's say, and they get it back on the tax roll and they build something on it or whatever, like they're, your builder, that's gonna be nice income for us. Can we put a lien, can you get a judgment against someone for back taxes on a property if you take the property away from them, or does that liability go away to them at that point? In other words, the 15 grand, do we have any way to recoup that or not?
Not in the standard way that we have done it.
Okay.
Legally, I'm not sure on that answer. However, I am kind of concerned because those were like 42 parcels, I think, that you guys reassigned to them, and we wiped all of that off.
Right.
But if the city is going to sell them and make money on them, the county should be getting something for all these back taxes that we just wiped clean. So if
Well,
this one is,
I think the idea behind that, though, is you were never gonna get the money anyway. So now at least if they can sell it, they make some money, good for them, it helps their community, and then we get tax revenue like we should. If we just sit here and
And
just
I-
go year to year and don't get money,
I understand that, but
Or
I
if you
mean,
want to work
maybe
out,
you-
if you want to work out a deal with the owner that wants it or the resident, you could do that as well. But
yeah.
I see your point there too, but also when you go in and do these tax sales and some of these commissioner sales, my understanding, county commissioners wipe those taxes clean. So when we have a lien on it as a city of Butler, we're losing out on that money just as much as what you are. So
Correct.
with us
Now,
selling
thi-
it, we're gaining
this
some of that money
one-
back, but we're also paying legal fees,
Correct.
advertisement fees. It's not like we have $0 in this.
No,
We do have thousands
I
of
understand that.
dollars in it. So, but if there's a way you want to work with that resident by theirself, amongst yourself and sell that, you can, but we've just had a good track record of getting it done. And
that can't be worked, that can't be worked out that way. If it's went to a tax sale or commissioner sale or both, it can only be reassigned to a municipality.
Yeah.
So
I
they can't
remember that.
reassign it to the person.
Which makes
But
sense.
this particular one with the 15,000 or whatever is due on it, there's only one sewer lien that's been added to it. Everything else is taxes that we're losing out on.
County taxes.
So in my mind, if we know they're gonna turn around and sell it, then there should be some kind of agreement that something comes back to the county.
But what's the difference if they sell it and get it back on the tax roll versus we just keep trying to collect tax, never get it? If he's doing all the work to get it sold, I hope they make some money. I just want it to be back on the tax rolls.
That's
You
your
know,
guys', that's your guys' call.
That's my thing. It's your first loss is your best loss. Get it over with and start anew. That's how I see things. It's dragging it out, and I get your point. You're being a good steward of hey, we should get some of that money back, but the way we get it back is to get it being productive again, like the 10 lots that the builder's gonna build on. Those would have never happened. We'd be still sitting here demanding tax money we're never gonna get, and it just has to, but I'm open to suggestion, but I'd like to see this stuff. It's good for the city too, to have it properly taken care of it.
I totally understand and I'm not disagreeing with that whatsoever. I just think things need to be looked at because
Sure.
say it's something else, say it's another lot that was a piddly lot beside a house that only $2,000 was owed, but they were able to turn around and sell it for $5,000, then
But why wouldn't an investor buy it would be my question. In other words,
they might already have the parcel beside it.
well, what I'm saying is, at these tax sales, if no one's buying them, they don't see the value, and these people are savvy people. They'll buy them if it makes sense. I mean, at the sheriff's sale, people literally kill each other to buy properties right now. It's insane. So the tax sale's a little more risk because they have 12 months to redeem.
But
And
not
so-
on a reassignment.
Not on a reassignment, yeah.
Reassignment follows the commissioner's sale.
Right. That's, yeah, I
120
get
day.
that, but we'd have to have the commissioner sale to do that, correct?
When
I
you
think so, yeah.
reassign.
Oh, when you reassign, yeah.
No,
yeah.
when they reassign, if you reassign the certificate, because every parcel that goes to tax sale that doesn't sell, we hold a commissioner certificate in the commissioner's
Okay.
name.
All right.
The county historically has never taken those parcels to deed for a million liability reasons, because we don't know what's
Right.
been cooked there or
Yeah.
not cooked there. So it stays in the current owner's name and just continues to add up taxes. But when, with the certificate in your name, when it is reassigned to a municipality, whether it last went to commissioner sale or tax sale, it follows the commissioner sale timeline. So they would have, Core Pennings would have 120 days, would have 4 months to redeem it, and then we would do our stuff with the city. Or they don't, and the city goes on and, but in that, the city has to do their noticing and
Yeah,
things
maybe
like
a
that.
compromise could be the city adds up their expenses on, if we reassign to your expenses and whatever the expenses are, we split the profit of the, I'm saying maybe half could come back to the county or something. If that's,
I think that's a good.
Good little
good
compromise,
path
yeah,
to-
so.
A good path to consider. I mean, we've just been talking about getting value, like with Lonnie Lamming's done, or the
Yeah, right,
four-wheeler and so
right,
forth.
right.
Getting the value
Sure,
of
yeah.
our property. So I think some
Yeah.
kind of shared, in the profit would
Yeah.
not be a horrible idea. I mean,
yeah,
we've had the expense of putting up a tax sale for 10 years, too.
not a bad idea.
So we're not going to
Yeah.
recover $15,000 by any stretch of the imagination.
But the good thing, Mike's done it so many times
Yeah,
now that
yeah.
he's the pro at this, gets it back on the tax rolls. If we can get a little back in our coffers to start too, wonderful.
Yeah.
Good for the taxpayer, but the big thing is, let's get it done now though, while the market's still hot and people want to build and people.
I'm not disagreeing whatsoever, and I don't want the city to go under either. I just want
Sure.
you guys to think about
a
what
good
kind
point.
of agreement you make, because I'm not saying that Mike does, but
Yeah.
others could be making quite a bit of money and
Yeah,
we get nothing.
yeah, but again, if someone had
Once
thought
it-
it was
I mean-
valuable, they would buy it, and no
Right.
one will buy it because of the big tax lien. And as long as and if tax lien goes up every year and it's not a desirable property, people just,
Yeah,
That-
some of these lots that we just sold, I mean, the city's been mowing those for, some of them up to 10 years, and we never received any money out of that. All that
I
got
think
waived,
the
so.
majority of those other that we did
Yeah.
were heavily city liens that were
Yep.
part of the
Yeah.
unpaid cost.
And had we not stepped up to acquire those lots, you're still gonna be getting $0 to this day on it. So at least we're gonna get them in the right people's hand, start putting money back in the tax roll, back on the tax base. And yeah, I don't have a problem if we look at what our overall expense is on this particular lot or any other lots, and then we do some type of a split with the county. It's something I have to run past our city attorney, something you guys have to run past your county attorney, but,
yeah, I'd want
No.
to make sure, Andrew, that that's legal, the agreement we make, since
Right.
it's technically supposed to be a sale.
Yep, main thing, want to get back on tax roll, and I want to get our guys, not on this one here, but our guys quit mowing them, maintaining them and stuff like that, which we hope that by getting 19 of them off of here. This individual here, like I said, he's been mowing it for years and years just because he wants to keep his neighborhood up. So you got to
Sure.
commend him on that a little bit. They could have left it go, and we could have been fighting a code enforcement nuisance on this.
I would, I'd be happy with that. If you want to investigate it on your end, we can make sure we're good on this end, kind of come to some kind of an agreement and see if we make it work and everybody wins.
Yeah, yeah, we're not out to get rich on this. We just want to get
Yeah,
things back
sure.
on the tax roll.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah.
At the tax sale, is the minimum bid the amount of taxes due? Do you have to bid that amount
Yes, at the tax sale, it is.
at the tax sale?
Yes, so, okay, so there's two, so the notice that goes out actually looks like this.
Okay,
And they have two amounts. So the owner has an amount that we must receive to remove it from the certification of the
gotcha.
sale. And and then there is an amount subject to sale. So it's the minimum that we need plus the taxes that are due in this current year.
okay,
So at tax sale, when they purchase, they're actually paying for everything backwards, including current year fall installment, even though it's not technically November 9th, but it's in that. So they're then paid up to the current year or whatever sale it is.
okay.
Yeah, I think we got right in the middle of that window there. We end up having to pay taxes on those 42 or 43 lots just because we called it at the wrong time and didn't have everything filled out to be tax exempt. So We
Yeah,
had
it
some
was
costs on those lands,
crazy.
property as well.
I think that we could discuss that more. I check it out on your end. I think, Andrew, if you could check out if there's no law keeping us from splitting
Okay.
have an agreement that, it sells for 5,000, you have 1,500 invested, there's 3,500, we split it. Something like that,
I think that's reasonable.
benefits you, benefits.
Yeah, I'll check and see if that's legally allowed.
Right.
And then, of course, we'd have to carefully define what like the
Right.
split off the net is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The good thing is we're dealing with municipality, though. It's not like we're trying to make a deal with a private
Yeah.
individual. We wouldn't be able to do that, so,
Yeah. Lot
Sounds
cleaner
like a
that way.
plan.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks, Mike.
all right, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Mike.
You bet. Have a good day. Okay. Courtney Butler. You are up. What you got?
Hi, good morning. Thank you guys for letting me chat with you today. I'm here to talk about trap, neuter, return, otherwise known as TNR. I am representing an organization called Animal Welfare Alliance. It's a new 501c3 established here in DeKalb County. One of our biggest priorities is trap, neuter, return. I don't know if you guys have had much community feedback about unwanted, stray, free-roaming, sometimes feral cats in the county areas, but I've gotten a lot of feedback about it. TNR is a 3-step process that is non-lethal. It is proven to reduce cat populations immediately and in the long term. There have been a lot of studies behind it since around 1992 in some large communities. It's definitely the most cost-effective. Euthanasia usually proves to be a lot more expensive, around $150 a cat as opposed to $45 a cat to fix it and return it. What I'm asking from you guys is to consider an ordinance to make trap, neuter, return legal. And that would put some good parameters around people that already exist, that are feeding them and caring for them in our community. Right now, unintentionally breeding them in a lot of cases. So they are what's referred to as a CCP, or a community cat provider. So there's an estimated 6,000 unwanted, unowned feral cats in our community. That's at the least. At this time, that calculation is based on human population and, as best we could get, shelter intake numbers on cats. So again, our goal would be to ask you guys to consider an ordinance, which in 2021, we did an ordinance for the city of Auburn that I think I sent you guys and you're probably familiar with. There are 2 other counties that have good ordinance for county, Porter and Tippecanoe, which I believe I sent your way as well, that we could look at, modify, get community feedback, and make work for our county. From there, I already have transport arranged with our low-cost spay-neuter clinic in the region, known as Humane Fort Wayne. Again, $45 a cat. They would meet with us at a location 1 day a month, most likely, pick up cats, fix them, bring them back. If
$45, they'll do
Yes.
all that?
Yeah, and they actually will ear tip it, which identifies the cat visually, microchip it, which would identify the cat if someone picked it up, and they would rabies vaccinate it, because public safety is a huge part of considering TNR. Rabies right now isn't affecting humans, but it can. And if we vaccinate these cats, it reduces that risk. So yes, $45 is that cost. That does include transport. Right now, the City of Auburn program sees about 5 cats a month. That's huge. Each cat in their 2 to 3 year lifespan outdoors can make 100 cats of their own, and each of those kittens makes 100 cats. So if we stop even 5 a month, we've made a huge dent. I think we could do more, and it would have community support, and I do plan to apply for grants to support this. We would be asking the commissioners to consider a small portion of funding, around $2,000, would buy us 25 traps that the citizens could rent and use, and it would spay and neuter 25 cats initially for the community. So that is what I'm here to talk about today. If I know I've sent you guys a lot of information leading up to this, I'm happy to share any of that with the public. They can find my website or contact me directly. I'm here to answer questions that you guys may have today, too, when considering this, of course.
Okay.
I think Garrett just did a TNR ordinance too, within the last month or so.
Yes.
Is it Garrett?
Yeah.
And Garrett?
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was excited to see that.
Yeah.
And we can have veterinarians locally do these surgeries. When you're not a low-cost veterinarian, they cannot compete with the cost of the low-cost veterinarian. So while we appreciate their efforts, $150 a cat to spay or neuter it is often not cost-effective for a municipality. but we do have arrangements with the regional low-cost spay-neuter clinic, and Steuben County utilizes their services, as well as Whitley, Wells. Many of the surrounding counties have transport with them.
Any questions, comments?
That's a great value. I mean, if they're gonna transport, neuter, rabies, chip it, all that for $45, I can't even imagine they would transport it for $45, let alone, I see some value there. The question is that there's a bigger element to this, and it's our relationship with like the Humane Shelter. What all should they do for what we give them, and should we give them more money and handle it all, or should we partner with someone like you to handle cats, but now we still have a dog problem? The fear I have is we do this program here, we do a dog program over here, we have the Humane Center here, and eventually, it seems like one entity ought to control the whole animal problem, but I don't know if that.
I will say in some partnering counties, there is a private shelter often and a municipal shelter, and they work together, and then many other rescues in addition. I don't think we're in competition. I don't think anyone's trying to take away anything from anyone else. This is a problem so big we cannot adopt it away. And when working with the shelter for TNR with the city of Auburn, they did indicate they love the program and they support it. Of course they do. They are overwhelmed with cats, but they do need help too. It's a big ask to ask a private humane society to take care of an entire county and all of its divisions. That's a huge ask. So our goal would not be to take anything away, rather to help reduce population. And it is common practice, like I said, for a municipally funded shelter or program and a privately funded shelter and program to exist. That's not uncommon.
Yeah, and I'm not worried about taking away any
Right.
business per se or anything. I'm more worried about it getting done efficiently and correctly, or saying, no, that's their problem. We only handle this.
Sure.
They handle that. Well, we're too busy to handle it.
I
You
can
know,
definitely tell you, I have over 25 years' experience in municipal sheltering, Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control. I also managed private veterinary clinics. My group has volunteers already ready to go that have big experience with municipal shelters. I don't foresee there being a conflict. We would like to manage this program. We did hand over, when creating the TNR program for City of Auburn, to DeKalb Humane. And in some interactions I've had with them, it sounds like they are eager to have volunteer assistance, which would be what we're eager to do. If that's not the correct interpretation, I think someone may be here today to speak for them. That would be our plan, to partner with them as best we can to handle TNR. And for billing and things like that, it could certainly come through the county to be paid out. The invoices could be billed by Humane Fort Wayne directly to Susan, or we could send them directly to Susan. That would probably be the most fluid. That way the county is also in control of their own funds, which would make me the most comfortable as well.
That is
What
I was
counties,
gonna
what counties
suggest.
have both, private and public?
Allen County definitely does. Wells County, I believe, and I would have to verify their private entity. But Allen County is one I'm most familiar with, as I've worked with them. So it started out as Allen County SPCA, which is now evolved into Humane Fort Wayne and Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control. And they work quite well as a private entity and a municipal entity. And as population grows and as animals continue to grow, it sometimes is necessary. Again, this is a big ask of our Humane Society. And I think what they're doing is great, but I do see a need that TNR could branch out to be more effective.
Dave, the road cap is in the back corner from the Humane Shelter. Dave, do you have any? You want to come up to the,
I'll get out of
to the podium?
Dave Rodecap, Humane Shelter President. I would agree. It's a huge problem. I'm not here to defend or
No.
even, I wasn't expecting to even talk. It's a huge problem. She is correct. It is a private program right now. The shelter does not run it. The shelter was a fiduciary only to get involved to handle the money to transactions that we were coordinating with Fort Wayne Humane. We don't deal with cats on that intakes like that. We deal only owner surrenders and such. It would be ideal if someone like her program can take over. It's a huge problem in this county. And she's also correct that at some point down the line, we're going to have a discussion about a government-funded shelter. It's just going to be inevitable with the way that it's growing. We're a private industry right now, so we can set rules and regulations. We also are restricted from things like entering property and taking animals and such. So this is a much bigger problem, and I don't want to get into today. I think it would be great if she succeed. We all hope she does. I don't see conflict with the shelter, none. If you got questions about it, I'll feel free to answer it, but I don't see any conflicts at all. None. I'm mainly just here today to hear how the interaction with you guys went.
Well, certainly, I mean, there's no way that you have the capacity to handle anything like that anyway there.
No, our employees is very minimal. Our volunteers is also very minimal because we don't go out to capture animals. We go to pick up animals that have been already captured and contained. Hers is going to be a different program because you do have to have those volunteers to set the traps. You do have the volunteers to monitor the traps. You do have the volunteers to obtain the cats. And the biggest problem we've encountered is trying to schedule when that cat picked up and thus go to Fort Wayne to fit their schedule for that work that they do. That's the biggest conflict that we've ever seen arise from this program. And yes, Garrett did just do it. We pushed them for about 2 years to try and get them to do it. And finally, their community, I think, just decided they wanted it. So I think that's why the DeKalb or the Garrett one happened.
Right.
But they're just starting.
Yeah.
Just starting.
Great. Thank you,
Anything
Dave.
else? Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yes, so our goal would be to help alleviate some of the stress our private shelter is having, of course. And as far as modifying and evolving into a municipal shelter someday, I think everyone could agree that would be great. That could be years down the road, but it's something to consider and something that starts from somewhere.
What are we talking about money-wise?
So our ask right now is $2,000 to begin this process. Like I said, that would buy 25 traps and that would fix 25 cats. And we would be asking for matching grants in the meantime that do exist for that. And we would also be asking for community donations. Because this is a very community-oriented program. People, as Dave said, catch their own cats. They trap their cats. We have to work with them. And we hope that sometimes if they have $10 to throw at the program, they will. And then those same community cat providers are also held to standards that there is no nuisance feeding. We're going to help have some enforceability to not have people attracting raccoons and animals that are a hindrance to our public safety. We'd have some actual enforcement.
So the $2,000 request would be to Animal Welfare Alliance, and then would there be a different amount, like each year, that then I would get billed for each of these, or?
The billing would come from that $2,000 from Humane Fort Wayne to you. So if you
Okay.
granted that to Animal Welfare Alliance and kept it with the county funding, which I would be completely comfortable with, and we would have Humane Fort Wayne bill you for each approved cat, then you guys have complete control of those funds still. And as far as grant matching goes, I would just have to get with you to find out how I still apply for those in that capacity. But I think we can make it work.
And so it would be better if I paid the
Controlled.
Basically serve as a
invoices,
fiscal
yeah.
agent. Yeah.
I actually kind of like this idea, just because of the cost. I mean, like I said, let's say we would increase our budget to Humane and they would agree to be an animal dog catcher or a cat. Or there's no way you can hire someone for $45 a cat, you know? So that kind of changes my thinking there. I would figure it'd be $150, $200 a cat just because transportation alone. I mean, you can't get an Uber for $50 to do that, so.
And Humane Fort Wayne is very much grant funded and donation dollar based to do what they do at low cost.
Sure.
So they're a unique entity, and that's why they're very popular in our region to use for these services. They also have mentioned their new building has been completed. If we need emergency kenneling or space, that is something they can work with DeKalb Humane, with our commissioners at this time, if we needed animal help, because they do have a very, very large facility. So we're all here to help each other, first and foremost for me with the TNR program.
Here's maybe a good use of $2,000 out of the ARPA fund.
I would agree with that.
What do you think, Bill?
I'm a big cat person anyway. We just adopted 2 over the weekend, Dave, by the way. Great experience.
Awesome. Yeah, if you love cats or hate cats, this program works for you, whichever side you're on.
I
It
love
really
them. They're
does.
very tasty. They're
I
great.
mean,
So.
You know?
Odd.
I don't know about that, but they could be. But yeah, if you love them or hate them, it
I love
helps
cats.
keep them safe if you love them. It helps reduce their population
Sure.
if you don't.
Well, yeah, because they're like rabbits, they have
They're
kittens. and-
survivors. They're
yeah.
the only animal
They're
that
tough.
lives on every continent and
Yeah.
can make it. They are survivors. So we cannot euthanize or adopt the problem away. This is really the only way.
I think for $2,000, we
I'd
give it a
certainly-
shot and see what
I'm
happens, and if
certainly
not,
in favor of investing $2,000.
yeah, and I think the ARPA money's the perfect place to pull it from.
So what needs to happen is, I'll need to work with Andrew because we'll need to
Write the ordinance.
write the ordinance so
Right.
that we can vote on that
Yeah.
and get the fund set up and if I go that route.
Well, then I'd make a motion that we have our attorney prepare an ordinance for this purpose of the TNR.
But like the funds
And
we did
allocate
for the,
2,000.
Yeah, and allocate 2,000, well,
I don't know, the drug
prepare the
stuff.
ordinance, and then we'll allocate the money at that point.
You'll,
Yeah.
okay, we'll get it worked out together.
Courtney be involved in that ordinance writing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have some
Samples.
samples also that.
Yeah, from other
Okay.
counties, right?
Other counties, other cities, we have quite a bit we can work with. And then community feedback, as I receive it, I will share with you commissioners so that we make sure it reflects what our community needs.
Yeah.
So I'll second the,
Who enforces the ordinance itself? And if it's a county ordinance,
Right.
would you guys be the enforcement body?
DeKalb Humane and our agency cannot be enforcement agencies. This would be enforced by the sheriff's department. And that's something I want to work with you all. It would be very minimal labor for them. It will actually reduce labor of probably picking up cats. We would hopefully arm each vehicle with a pet chip scanner so that they can identify a pet and not have to pick it up, a cat in this case. More importantly, even if they never get to that stage of touching the cat, teaching law enforcement that an ear tip, a left ear tip, means that cat is fixed. We can leave it alone. And teaching the community that. From there, the only real enforceability piece I can foresee is the feeding. Nuisance feeding, we usually ask that to end after 9 p.m. That's the hardest one because people really feel the need to keep feeding those cats because they love them. It's with good intention. But we can educate about that. Generally, you may have a sheriff come to tell someone, please just pull the food at 9 p.m. or you're going to make yourself ill potentially with the animals you're attracting. That's the only law enforcement I could see, and I'm happy to do some public education for our law enforcement officers. I have a volunteer that is here today that has worked with law enforcement. She's been an ACO for Allen County, Fort Wayne, that could help us teach those programs that will, in the long term, relieve work for DeKalb Humane and for law enforcement.
Okay.
That was the motion, and Mike seconded, right?
yes, I did.
So,
Okay, we have a motion and second on the floor. Any additional comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
thank
We'll get the
you.
ordinance written
Appreciate
up.
you helping out.
Go from there.
I'll be in touch.
Okay. Next up, and last on the list is Siler and Neighbors Chicken Farm debate or questions? They're all outside. Oh, yeah, you can pick it up.
Okay, so we
Thanks, yeah.
just 5 is, yeah.
Are you Siler? You're right, Siler.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, project itself.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, let's start out with the representative of the concerned citizens. Come up and give us a brief explanation of what your concerns are.
Thank you, Commissioners. Scott Seiler.
Is that blue light on your, is it, okay,
Blue light on?
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Everybody hear me okay? There's a permit that was pulled for a chicken farm on 4921 County Road 52. We live on 52, right close to that. And I can read through this document or whatever. We as families have gotten together and helped put this all together. And there's a lot of families represented here too. Not to be cognizant of your time and our time and everybody else, is there a certain part you would like me to jump to? Because we feel there's a lot of discrepancies in the ILP. I could just read through this if that's okay, if the time
Why
allows.
don't we do them one at a time, and then we'll have Chris answer?
Yeah.
Is that?
Make one point at a time, if you would.
I'm sorry, I'm
Just cover one item at a time, and we'll let Chris Garmer respond to your concern,
okay,
one at a time.
Yeah, one at a time.
okay. So I'm going to skip past the first page here. Second page is, we have a list of concerns here. And if any, I might get notices from my friends and neighbors back here behind me too, that maybe they can better speak on some of these topics. At face value, the permit looks like it was followed proper procedures until you dig in. And I'd like to please take time to dive into the information. The permit application is for residential accessory building or structure addition. An accessory structure is a structure which is on the same parcel of property as a principal structure. In this case, on this property, there is no principal structure. And then it says, which the incidental use of the principal structure, and this is according to FEMA, and Indiana has this brought out too as a definition of site.
So our UDO allows accessory structures to be placed as a principal structure. We changed that in the UDO back, I can't remember, 3 or 4 years ago, to allow people to have barns on their property. They can use it for storage. They can use it for any other permitted use that's within our UDO in that A2 zoning district. This use is permitted. We do understand the Schmuckers plan to build a house as well in the future, and that's why they're stockpiling some dirt on the east side of the property to allow for that house to get built. But we do allow permits for other structures than the principal structure prior to a principal structure being built, or the principal structure is that that use. It meets all the setbacks for principal structure or primary structure, so the UDO does allow that.
But that's for residential though, correct? Is that, in other words, they're saying here, the permit application for is a residential accessory structure.
So, and that's kind of
Oh, that's the only classification we have.
Correct, that's the only
But they're saying, hey, it's not
classification we have.
residential, so we really need to change that verbiage in our,
It needs to be changed in the ordinance that I brought forward this morning.
Yes, that's okay, that's what we talked
And then also
about.
would then get changed in our permitting software.
gotcha, yeah, gotcha, okay.
There is an additional checkbox on there. It says agriculture, which I think should have been checked in this case. And my understanding of the definition.
Yeah, and we don't even have a checkbox in our permitting software for an agricultural building because it's not listed in our ordinance as we don't have anything listed as an agricultural building in our ordinance. I know it sounds stupid. I think Dottie said that earlier today, so I'm going to use it because it's probably true. But it sounds stupid, but I'm one, and Andrew can attest to this. You guys have worked with me enough to know I'm not going to put something in our software that isn't there in an ordinance.
Right.
We have residential accessory structures as an ordinance, so I'm not going to put it in there. Should it be? Yes. And I think that change needs to be made in light of what's been happening. But it's just something that was overlooked, really, for the past however many years.
Thank you, Chris. So we need to redefine what an accessory structure is when it comes to agriculture, basically.
And add in agricultural buildings that aren't used for storage or what have you.
Agricultural use.
Right, for an
Absolutely.
agricultural use, yes. That makes
More defined
sense, Bill.
definition.
Just to be clear, Chris, though, this use is an allowable use under the current UDO.
Is or is not?
Is.
Is, yes.
Yes, okay.
Let me kind of, if I can, because I think of just reading what you're going through here, I think I can
Yes.
kind of jump to a conclusion. You mentioned 27,000 chickens, because that's under 30,000's the state mandate of what a CFO is.
Yeah.
And you talk about highway traffic increasing on the gravel road and all that, and how it affects your property. What number in your mind is good to have amount of chickens and you would be happy with? 15,000, 10,000, 5,000, 25,000? I know you're concerned about this 27,000 being close to that 30. It's what you're kind of alluding to, that, they're just under that 30,000 and it's really a CFO, but it's not. So what number would you be happy with?
It's not so much the number. In my opinion, may not be totally shared with all my neighbors. I'd rather be at the IDEM levels so we know that there's some regulation and some rules that are being followed and somebody checking up on it. What we're seeing a pattern of right now, and I can lay that out as we go through this, that they're not following rules now. So if they're not following rules now, are they going to follow rules in the future? I have 10 chickens at home. I can't keep track of them. I'm not going to be able to go over and count if they have 27,000 or if they're above the IDEM limits or they're below or wherever they're at. I don't know. What we're concerned about is the air and water quality of our county and what's going to happen. We've all experienced, well, some of the younger ones haven't, what chicken farms smell like, okay?
No doubt there.
And we are not interested in that. However, there are good management practices nowadays that would not be the case. But what I am seeing from all intents and purposes from the owners is that they have right now no intents to follow rules.
Yeah, that is my concern, though. Like you said, you have 10 you can't keep track of. Imagine 1,500. That's still a huge number.
I can't even count to 27,000.
That's what I'm saying. So I think we have to have the discussion, because this is going to happen again where someone says, okay, I'm only going to do 5,000. Well, 5,000 is still a lot of chickens. And we going to have a discussion again? Well, we didn't allow 27,000, but we allowed 5,000.
Well, I think you got to also think of what IDEM's rules and regulations trump whatever ours are.
I don't mean to jump ahead, and I'm sorry to cut you off,
That's fine.
Chris. There's since 2014 is the latest revision of this, and this was put out by IDEM, knowing that these are issues, okay? And the issues you bring up. What number is a good number? Well, They don't address the number. They're just saying, hey, FEMA makes us and the EPA makes us regulate once you're over these certain numbers.
Right.
This model ordinances addresses those below that. And so then there'd be some checkoffs given. And I'm not saying we have to adopt all this. I'm just asking, please give some serious consideration to this document that was put together and worked on several times. And it's been implemented by several counties, parts of it, maybe not all of it. But there's some good common sense information here, like setback distances from the residents where you're moving these areas into. They talk about even having high-density agricultural zones where, hey, this makes sense. And then making the people that move residences into those areas sign off that they're willing to put up with whatever comes into those areas. This goes both ways. This protects the CAFOs and the CFOs. This also protects residents. In this case, this property is already under violation of the Indiana Administrative Code 375-15-5. They are disturbing over 1 acre in their construction activities of putting this barn up. The reason they don't want to apply for that is because the neighbors would have to know. And the neighbors found out about it the hard way because we're like, what is the runway being built over here in this field?
Can I touch on I think there's 3 things there that he touched on that I want to talk about. And somebody's in the audience, I can't remember her name, but she was part of this process when about 2017, I remember one of the first things I did, and I'm going to give you a little Chris Gallmer history lesson in DeKalb County when I started here in 2016, is I brought forward confined feed operation standards to the Plan Commission because we had been getting some permits for projects that were underneath that number. And coming from Cass County, we had confined feed standards that had, I think, a 300-foot setback from residential structures. You had to have a buffer. You had to have a mound with evergreen trees or something that would allow for some screening. Besides solar, it was the most contentious meetings we've ever had that I can remember. And she can speak to this. She's nodding her head yes. Can't remember your name. Sorry. There you go, Carmi. And the Plan Commission withdrew it because of the outcry from mostly the ag community not wanting these standards in place because there's already item standards for minimum numbers. DeKalb County would have to do a lot of homework to figure out what's an okay number. 5,000,
That's what I was
1,500,
saying,
500, 1. I don't know.
Again, I'd like to refer you.
Hold on one second.
Reading through this.
We use this. We had this as part of our uses. We had Alicia Rogers. We had Sarah Delbeck on our Plan Commission. We had a lot of people from Farm Bureau. We had people from other community organizations to do this, and it was ultimately withdrawn, as she remembers. She was a proponent of the standards as well, if I remember correctly. Jeremy was. Okay. The second thing was the 3 acres or more. I did contact Cameron Bell with Soil Water District. She reached out to the surveying and engineering firm that came back and said, we're going to be disturbing 0.8 to 0.9 acres. So again, one thing that I think that our offices do well is we don't just go based off of whatever the application says. I think the application was 32,000 square feet for a building. I did talk to Cameron. It is supposed to be the disturbed area of whatever it's disturbing. If it's 0.8 to 0.9 acres, it is. If it's more than that, then it's an item. Cameron does not enforce that construction general permit. It's item that she monitors, basically. So I would say contact item for that regulation.
We have contacted IDEM.
Okay. And they should be doing their investigation on that.
Within 30 days, they said they'll get somebody out here. I said they'll have the building built by then.
Okay. So I don't know what more to do with that point. The third point I forgot, so you have to remind me.
I really feel that IDEM should have been part of the ILP process, and that should have been contacted before construction started, not after it started.
It's under the application requirement, so IDEM would not be, we would not have
The
contact
part
with
of
IDEM about it.
IDEM I am referring to, Chris, is how much area of disturbance. That includes your driveways, your spoil piles, your construction work area, everything that gets torn up falls under that 375-15-5.
And Cameron reached out. So if she needs to reach out again, she needs to be,
So Scott, am I understanding that you're saying it may be that they're saying 0.8 or 0.9 is disturbed around the base or foundation of the building, but that your concern is that it would be over the 1 acre if you include the driveway? That's kind of what you're thinking?
Yes.
And the collapsed tiles and stuff?
The building itself is over an acre if you just do the
Okay.
simple math, okay? So right away, you can't build a
I
building.
hadn't heard that before this morning. I thought the building itself was under an acre. But I would like to just speak to Mr. Seiler, or one person at a time if possible.
So Andrew, what they did in the calculations, they looked at the actual building size, 574 by 57 feet.
Okay.
Falls just with under an acre. However, added on to that, not included in that calculation, is a hard surface area at the end for storage of what we don't know.
Okay.
It just says holding pen. We don't know if that's a holding pen for the poultry or if that's a holding pen for outside storage of manure. And that
So
is,
that would seem to be over the 1 acre disturbed.
yeah,
by your-
and so you
yeah.
can't physically build a building because you need room around that building, so that area is torn up. So I mean,
Right.
give them a 20, you know.
And then if you add a holding pen on the side, how could it be 1 acre if the building itself is almost 1 acre? Yep. I see your point. I see your point.
So had neighbors been informed about this before construction started, which IDEM requires that, there probably wouldn't be so many feathers ruffled, so to speak. Okay, this feels like a little sneaky Pete thing going on here in our backyard. But anyway, we do have concerns on this lot, just beyond even this. So do you have time? I can go on down the list or not?
Todd needs to leave at
Got 15 minutes though,
11:30.
so, yeah, we got 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
Is it okay to proceed, and that you guys please interrupt me at any point you got a question or something? So Mr. Smucker had mentioned to the neighbor, Laura Lepley, that the building is a commercial chicken farm. We have that in a text. Please refer back to, I believe it's G or F. Nope. It's G, sorry, item G. I wasn't, kind of scrambled trying to help get this thing put together, so I'm not. But item G, he says in his text, he's telling her that it's a commercial chicken barn. The requirements for completion of application on page 3, the permit was not complete. The site plan submitted by the applicant Smucker's there does not follow the template. The template shows that you're supposed to show all property lines. We know this is an 8.5 by 11 that the county uses for routing. He shows half the property. That is on page, if you look at the B section, page 3, they're front and back, sorry, I'm trying to save paper. You got an example of a site plan showing all the property lines. You flip over to the next page, you'll see the plans that he submitted. That indicates half of his property. If you look in particular attention, this is the hand-drawn sketch that he provided for our guys to approve. And I appreciate all the hard work, Chris. I want you to know, I appreciate everybody's hard work. What I'm saying here is that when you're given bad information to begin with, or misleading information, it's hard for you guys to do your job. If you look at the size barn he has drawn in here compared to the houses down below, and then if you'll, while you're looking at that, please flip back to tab C, which is more the actual size of this building. Something more like this should have been submitted with this plan. Obviously, the markups and showing dimensions and other things too, okay? When our ILP people, and I know they're busy, everybody's pulling permits, trying to get their garages up and barns and everything else, but when they're given very sketchy information, it's hard for them to determine what's there. I hope that they can be empowered to reject these until they come back with something that's suitable to be read and looked at. I mean, you know, this is a good start for somebody, but this isn't very accurate to what's going on there. They also, let's see, next item here. They do not indicate, according to the driveway permitting process, you're supposed to indicate where your driveway's at. They don't have a plan showing that. We give them a template, the county does, on how to indicate that. They don't indicate. They do have numbers on there, however, but the numbers don't make any sense to anybody. If you look at the, let's see, this is in B again. And I'm sorry to run everybody all over the place here, just trying to get through this as quick as we can. The DeKalb County highway permit, driveway permit, they have on here a certain number of feet from the east boundary. And then it says 226 feet from the west line. That is incorrect. What is put in out there is not this. So I don't know what's going on. It doesn't add up to either the Lepley's boundary, which is directly to the west, and it doesn't add up to their property line on west even further. So I don't know how these numbers come out and where this is really supposed to be at. Is there maybe there are typos? It's supposed to be 1226. I don't know, Chris. I'm just saying that it's inaccurate.
I don't know. Some of these things are other departments that we don't permit, but the driveway, I do know that they go out, Ben Parker or Mark Goodrich will go out and inspect the location. They ask them to flag it. They go out and do the inspections. A lot of permits that we receive, because that's how we do our addressing. So we then address the property when we get the driveway permit. And I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, and I'm not doing that at all. The driveway permits are sometimes inaccurate, and they skip a number. They put in a 2 instead of a 3. They forget the 1 in front of the 2, so it's 1,200 feet. So it could be wrong, but I don't think it means that the permit isn't a valid
I would like
inspected permit.
Yeah, if they've got a highway or a driveway permit from highway, Ben or Mark have physically been out and inspected.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about
And
that.
it would have to meet site distance.
Yeah.
Right.
At 55 miles an hour, approximately 500 feet with site distance. It would have to meet that requirement. So it could vary. And I don't know why the numbers don't coordinate, but that'd be a question for Ben Parker.
Yeah.
Ben Parker I'd like to point out here, he did note that this location seems more of a business than a personal farm use. I mean, they're going to have heavy traffic going in and out of here. We further on in here, we have the calculation of how many eggs per day based on the number of birds they said are going to be going in and out of this place.
And there's nothing the county can require that you currently have on the books to say you're on a gravel road, so you can't do this use. You're on we have 5 types of thoroughfare uses, from county locals up to major arterials. So we would have to define those. If this is something you would want to do, commissioners, define that in an ordinance for the highway department, that certain uses have to be on certain roads.
I don't think anybody here is pretty much that I'm trying to speak for a big group here, but I don't think anybody's so much concerned about the gravel road and its use, because they can be repaired faster. But this road does get very, very soft. It floods at the east end. So there's going to be issues with trucks getting in and out of that road. School buses have a hard time getting up and down.
And that's what I'm trying to state is we've talked about this before, I think at Plan Commission, Mike, and then now Bill, is that there's certain uses that we don't require traffic plans or traffic studies. We don't require impact fees, for instance, for any type of use to come in that might be, that's going to take on more traffic, and maybe not more traffic, but heavier traffic use. These are all things that these type of projects bring to light. Is it going to save the day? Not right now, but this is all things that need to be taken into consideration. I'll let you finish because I know we're on a little time crunch.
One of the trucks delivering just to the site got stuck on the telephone pole, and now that's bent way over at 47 and 52. So we have, one of my biggest concerns is, me personally, is the runoff and how it's going to affect nearby waterways. And as we hopefully have a little bit of time to get on in this, if I could refer you to, there should be, let's see, D, E, I think it's section E, D and E. Sections D and E are showing, especially D, there's 2 pages, it's front and back. This is showing just kind of a site sheet runoff. This is just after a light rain out there. And you can see it run away from the site. The pictures that are above on part E show the erosion that's happening on this particular site right now anyway. So for them not filing a plan, the IAC 375-15-5, without them filing that and doing something about the stormwater prevention plan, about any project you have to do, that's all I deal with all the time at work is getting projects off the ground. Because that's the hardest part, getting approval. This one went through, and you tell me, Chris, it seemed like record time to me. My son did a little Eagle Scout project down here, and it took us 3 months to get that approved, and that was just a little pavilion down there at 35 and 36. But this thing seemed to fly through there without really much checks on it.
There were checks. I don't want it to sound like we aren't doing our job, because we send this on through technical review. And I know you're not insinuating that. I think the wordage was a little misconstruing, but we sent this on to technical review. It got a driveway permit, soil water checked. She was told that it's going to disturb less than an acre. I don't want to get booed in the audience. It went to drainage board for drainage board approval on June 20th. I think you were out that day. And then health department signed off on it. For the lifetime of our UDO and prior to that, those 4 departments we require sign-offs from before we issue any permits. However fast they get those done is however fast we can get the permit issued. We got a permit issued for a fence in a day. Granted, that's not this, but record speed of something like this, when it's under the requirements, we cannot enforce something we don't have enforcement capabilities for.
So the biggest issue we have is, this is more than an acre, so it should have had IDEM approval.
For only the construction, stormwater permit.
Right, that's what I'm
Not for
saying.
it being a CAFO. Okay.
Right, that's what I'm saying, but it was for that purpose it should have.
Maybe.
But how do we enforce that? How do we say?
We don't.
Can we do a stop work order under those circumstances, that it exceeds 1 acre?
We can't.
We can't.
Even
would be
if
through
it's
IDEM.
found
It would
out
have
that
to
they
be
were
IDEM.
inaccurate in their proposal to us when we approved it
It would be through IDEM.
through
I
IDEM?
think.
Well, can we be their proponent for IDEM and call IDEM and say, hey, we got an issue here. Do you guys want to step in immediately and
We'd have to get Cameron here to talk about it too. And I know she's working from home today, so she's not in town. I don't know how that would work.
Okay. I'm just wondering, I mean,
Yeah.
we have some urgency here, and, if they miscommunicated the amount of acres and should have had IDEM approval, that's not fair to the residents that surround.
Right.
And
Right.
whether it was intentional or not, we can't throw stones, but obviously
think,
it's,
I think they
given
provided
some-
information to show that it may be over the 1 acre entire disturbed with what I see. So
I think we need to light a little fire at least with IDEM somehow and just say, hey, this has caused
And
an
that
issue.
and I could let Cameron know that when I get back to the office, that
I think that'd be prudent, so.
Well, given some of our previous experience with IDEM, lighting a fire is probably not realistic either.
Well, that's just it. They don't seem to move real fast.
They move at their pace.
Yeah. I know this, the Army Corps, if you upset them, they'll be at your door the next morning, so I figured IDEM would be the same.
Yeah.
no.
Yes, ma'am. State your name. You have a comment?
Yes, Miss Lepley, who lives just a few hundred feet from this project site, would like to say something.
Real quick.
So, my name's Laura Lepley. I am in the process of buying my grandmother's house through the estate. The building is literally a football field away from my back door. But I do want to ask, will you guys be able to call IDEM? Because we have called, and it's going to take 30 days. And today, they have already put up the siding of it. The frame, thank you.
Frameworks.
So
Ms. Lepley.
We'll have to get in touch with Cameron.
the Amish,
Well, I do have an idea as far as contacting IDEM that came to me here sometimes contacting your local legislator. We have Tyler Johnson as the state senator and
Yeah.
Ben Smaltz as your state representative. And I can tell you, if you call them today even and ask for help on this, they can put some pressure on the state agencies because, they hold the purse strings for the state agencies. So I would suggest that as one way to do that.
Yep.
You have.
We have reached out to them. And one more concern that I have being in the war zone is what I'm calling it, is I have children. I am 32 years old and I am working to be the American dream, to be debt-free. And when this estate closes, I will be debt-free at the age of 32. With this in the backyard of my home, my kids are at stake of all the health problems that will come with this. And that is my concern. And the well water, if it gets contaminated and everything that goes with it. And I'm nervous because I've never done this before. But I just asking for you guys to at least have the concerns that we have. And I appreciate your guys' time. I really do. And one more thing was the fire. They don't have a fire plan. I ended up calling Friday, the fire department, because they had an open burn and no one was on the property and I did not want to trespass, to see if it was a grass fire or just a regular fire. And through the CB radio that we have, and they could not get a hold of the people. They couldn't get a hold of Darren, or his uncle, because they don't have any records of getting a hold of them. So if there was a fire at this farm, a football field away, it could spread to my home. And that was another concern that I have. So, thank you.
Okay.
If I could, the paperwork that's come in from Scott Seiler and all of you is very well prepared and very helpful, so I just wanted to say that to you.
Appreciate the tabs.
Yeah,
Yes, appreciate
the
the
contact numbers you'll find on that are not accurate on the ILP. His address is not accurate on the ILP. I don't know what information's been given, but it just seems like there's a little bit of misdirection going on with this whole permitting process for this particular building from the owner's standpoint. In fact, the owner actually didn't apply for the permit. His uncle or his father-in-law did. Walked it all the way through, so. And that, like, again, and then there's on to property value concerns. I mean, we have all this data out there from FEMA, National Board of Realtors, that this will affect your property values for all those living close to this. So, so does that throw that on every?
Well, with the property values, one of the problems is Indiana's problems with, I guess problems maybe is the word or not the word to use, but there's an Indiana right to farm law, and where that kind of connects in with where is it, reasonable to have a 27,000 chicken farm versus 5,000 chicken, or and that sort of thing. And then sometimes people that build homes and have plats and subdivisions around, there's some standard language for at least some of the plats, for all of them now, that say that whoever builds the home agrees not to complain about agricultural use. The problem is, of course, this is a huge agricultural use with a lot of smells, water pollution concerns.
Yeah, Andrew, we're aware of that. I think most of the neighbors here, I can't abstain for all of them, obviously, but I'd say a lot of them are before that was written into their contracts. So just letting you know that.
So it was a standard thing to put on plats before 2009 when our UDO was redone. It is on yours that you signed off on that, you won't object to agricultural land uses. The right to farm law does say when I think of agricultural land uses, sometimes I won't say me, but sometimes you just think of it's corn and soybeans. We don't think that it's also hog farms, chicken farms, poultry farms, and all that. So it's also is, mineral extraction that we have Indiana code on, and forestry options.
Sometimes
some of that stuff
the state restricts it and we can't restrict it. Now, we can do some things, and apparently there's an ordinance that can be looked at for this as well. But like, you can't restrict most gravel extraction, like a gravel pit, if they want to put one by wherever we live, theoretically, they can do that within certain restrictions, even, because the state has a state law on it. So there's this right to farm law we have to work on, work within.
I want to stress again, I don't think there's anybody here that's anti-farm. Okay? I mean, we're all either farmers or generations of farmers, but this is not the farming. This is industrial farming, and I just want people to realize that. This isn't your normal, I'm running 2,000, you ask how many chickens. They run 2,000 head, even 5,000 head of chickens out there in the field. It's probably not going to bother anybody. You run 27,000 chickens out there, now we got something else going on.
Well, that was back to my number.
Yeah.
There's a number that makes people happy is what I'm saying, and maybe that needs to be in our ordinance. Because can we set a lower number than the state? So we can't do that.
No, because
I don't know that we can.
IDEM wouldn't have the ability to regulate
Right.
anything under that number. So we could say a confined feed operation is going to be 15,000 head of poultry, but we can't enforce them to go get an IDEM permit.
Because we're not going to go count 15,000 chickens every week.
Well, we can't force them.
Nor
to
can
go
we
to the
enforce, right, all of the IDEM rules and regulations. So there's a catch-22 there to doing that. We could require, screening or buffer requirements or
Drainage requirements,
but
perhaps,
even
or
drainage
something.
requirements is a whole other ballgame because it's a drainage board issue and it's what they require for their threshold for a drainage calculation. And if they're at 38 acres, they use that whole, and I don't want to speak for the drainage board or the surveyor, but there's a whole calculation they use
I
for
get
what they
that.
can do. So we couldn't even say, you got to now have a retention pond for this because
Right.
I mean,
I'm sorry
there's
to hold
very
anybody,
limited
just
things that we
one-
could require.
One other item that's kind of a big hot topic is the sanitation, septic concerns too. I mean, there's 27,000 birds are going to have workers there. What do those workers do? Where do they wash? Where does their wash water go? This is an egg plant. We're finding out, we think, from what Darren Schmucker said, they got to wash the eggs. Where does that runoff go? Where does all this stuff go? There's nothing in the plans. There's no plans really submitted on this. It's just, we're putting up a barn. And where's all this stuff going? If you look at the pictures, get a chance, please look at the packets. We're showing what's going on. We know where it's going. It's going to the creek. Is there any questions of me? And I'm sorry to hold everybody late. I really appreciate everybody's attention to this. I appreciate all the families that came out because they were concerned. There's a bunch more they're concerned than even us here, but a lot of them could not make it because of the timing and taking off work.
I'd say get with your legislatures. Get with Ben Smaltz and Mr. Johnson for one thing.
Yeah, I would suggest doing that.
We're really limited on what we can do with this. It's kind of a gap here between the law and the citizens and the county as far as what we can regulate and what we can do.
I understand that, sir.
If we
The
go
question
outside
I
the
have,
law, then we're in.
if somebody gives information that's not accurate or misleading in this case, is there still nothing you can do? I mean, we brought up,
Talking about
if you read through this, you'll see there's a lot of discrepancies and a lot of misinformation and a lot of misleading stuff.
I mean,
And it's pretty sad if we can't
the
do
two things that
something.
I can think of, just off the top of my head right now, talking, is the construction permit that I can text or call Cameron when I get back to the office and say, they've contacted IDEM, can you do your contact to try to push that forward? I would suggest calling Ben Smaltz and Representative, whatever his name is,
Johnson.
as well. Whoever it is. But then the driveway permit, if the number is wrong on the driveway permit, Ben just needs to go out and fix the number. I mean, it's not, that's minimal, I think, I guess.
Do we have a right to, one question would be, I think what you're asking maybe is, does the county have the right to pull the building permit we issued? Because we issued a building permit, right?
We don't practice that, so I'm not going to say yes.
But, what?
No. I'm not going to do hype.
I understand your point that.
That's not what they're saying at all.
I'm saying that we're going to get them to to comply with the stormwater. I say we, I can't. The county, through IDEM, I guess, can get them to comply with the construction permit. And if the driveway permit numbers are wrong, we can fix that. But if that's,
I'd like to point out another gross thing that I've seen, and that is the calculation of stormwater runoff. If you'll look at the surveyor's report in part of that package, it does not change. They're adding this 622 feet long hard surface by 60 feet long hard surface, and it says it doesn't change.
And that's something.
And it lists the entire property as impervious. Now, I'm not trying to be a spellmeister, okay? But the whole cotton picking field is not concrete. It's a field. It is pervious. So when you read the surveyor's report, our surveyor's report, you're kind of like, what was he smoking?
Well, you may want to talk to the surveyor and.
I've tried. I only got as far as the secretary.
Okay, so I'm glad you reached out to him because that was the right thing to do.
Are you having drainage board on Wednesday or Thursday?
As far as I know.
One of them can
We usually don't.
These two are on the drainage board, so they can contact you if they're going to be. I would say go to the drainage board because it's it's ultimately the drainage board's approval on that. So
You may want to reach back out. There's been some change in staff. You may want to reach back out to the surveyor's office. There's been some change in staff very recently.
Okay.
Yeah. Talk to Tyler.
So maybe you'll have a better
Tyler,
chance of getting through, I think is what she's saying. I can't
I
guarantee
appreciate
that.
everybody's time and effort, and we want these done right. That's literally what I think everybody's concerned with here, and right now, we don't see things being, no rule following kind of, and it's very sketchy on what's happening here.
Well, I think, realistically, and I know we haven't historically, but if there's a material misrepresentation in the application, we could probably do a stop work order, probably. That would be something Andrew would have to verify. But something like a wrong address or a wrong number on the driveway permit is not a material misrepresentation.
Right.
They have represented the size of the building and so forth properly.
It would be
So,
different
yeah.
if the driveway was, for example, placed in a long flat area on their proposed permit, even if the number was off, but it was still in the long flat area, whereas they actually built it next to a hill where it's a dangerous,
Yeah.
entrance.
That'd
That's
be
different from their plan. That would be different, I think, than if there's just a labeling of a few feet off.
Honestly, guys, the driveway isn't our biggest concern. It was just that we noticed the
No,
discrepancy
I
in the
understand
measurements
that.
don't
It was-
add up.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
But if the total disturbed area ends up being more than an acre, then that falls to IDEM. That's not something that we can do a stop work order on. That's an IDEM issue. And I tell you fairly realistically, IDEM's not going to stop the work. They're just going to make them get the permit.
Let me back up there, though. Would we have issued the permit if we knew it was over an acre and IDEM hadn't given approval?
we would have had to gotten that hold
Right.
from Cameron
Yeah.
Bell at Soil Water.
Okay.
And she reached, like I said, she reached out, she was told a number. If it's wrong, again, I don't think we can
If they
issue the stop work
materially-
order. And it is true what Mike's saying is that IDEM's just going to say, just come get your permit. And
Yeah.
that's going to be the end of it. They're probably not going to penalize them,
Okay.
but
No.
that's an IDEM thing.
They'll
That's
just
not.
have, Cameron will be out doing the inspection thing.
So they would probably give the permit regardless, is what you're saying?
Yes, correct.
Still probably worth pushing IDEM to
Sure.
at least make them go through that hoop.
Make them do it right.
Yes, of course. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
I know you weren't,
Yeah.
Chris. I know you weren't, Chris.
There's not a commercial building you'll see go up anywhere where they don't have silt fencing around and a stormwater retention plan. I mean, that just doesn't happen in the state of Indiana, but it's happening right over here in our backyard.
Well, that's Cameron's territory. She handles all the MS4 regulations.
Well, we're not an MS4
Well,
in this
no,
area,
that's-
but yes,
that's- yeah,
similar,
yeah.
similar type
Yeah,
permitting is
yeah,
required.
well,
You're right.
Well, whether it's Rule 5 or MS4,
Rule 5, yeah.
whatever, yeah, it's Rule 5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we need to talk to her.
I appreciate you guys' help again. Please
I'll
please
read
look
that.
at this
Thank
and
you.
anybody can look at it. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from the board?
I handed you guys the information.
Yeah, I'll
I
read
have.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay. All done?
Got that.
All right. Okay, we stand adjourned.